Hello, and welcome to the sudden but inevitable rewatch. I am your host and captain, as always, Jesse. Thank you so much for joining us, as you do every week. Whether you join us audio version podcast listeners, or if you're here watching live, we love all of you, and we couldn't do this show without you. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Now, as you know, I'm not the only person here to bring you through this week's episode of Firefly. I also have with me our resident companion, Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. My ship is flying straight, and I made it in.
I gotta ask, do you use autopilot or are you fully skilled in the manual flying of the shuttle like Inara?
I don't trust autopilot. I take care of everything myself. How do you
Well,
pull off
sometimes
crazy moves like
machines.
the Crazy Ivan?
I guess that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Machines aren't
Thank you for
prepared to pull off advanced maneuvers, and I am prepared to pull off advanced maneuvers. So I leave the flying up to yours truly.
I think that makes good sense. We also have our other normal weekly companions with us, Josh and Kylie. Josh and Kylie, how's your week this week?
It's wonderful.
Hello. Yes, very good. Very good
Yes.
one this week.
Also, remember, it's number one. It's not Kylie. It's number one.
I forgot.
Well, for me, she's number one. So you can't really call her that, but
Oh,
I mean, you
Ooh.
can. It's just it would be kind of weird,
burn.
right? It would just be weird. It'd just be
Burn.
weird if we both had the same nickname. Anyways,
Coming to you with some ice.
normally-
I'll be right back.
normally that would be it for us. We'd be done introducing people, and we would just go from here, and we would have an awesome time. Because this is just a fun show to talk about. But this week, we actually have one more person to introduce, and you may have noticed, and you may not, that we are all wearing green shirts. Now, you may be asking, what's with the green shirts? Well, let me tell you what's with the green shirts. These are in honor of this week's guest, Cameron Harrison from the Green Shirt Podcast.
Hey,
Hi,
everybody.
Cameron.
Hi.
How you doing? How was your
I-
week?
Well, I'm doing good now. Thank you for having me on. It's a good into this week where I have been out of power because of ice storms. And as you can see by my very non-geeky background, I'm in a hotel room right now. But so my last night here, I got to go back home tomorrow. And thank you for inviting me because being on your podcast it was something to look forward to all week.
Thanks for
Yay.
joining through
Aw,
that.
Cameron.
So where are you,
You-
from?
yes.
Where are you at then?
Portland, Oregon.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
Yes, not Texas. It's one of those two, right?
Sure.
My
Yes.
sister lives in Medford.
And isn't it weird?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Is
It's
Oregon
weird that we're like
Yes,
it's
Oregon is
freezing.
weird.
And it
Portland
could
is
be
weird.
Oregon or Texas. Well, just for those to
Yes,
be the
yes.
two options of freezing places is kind of strange. I've listened to several episodes of the Green Shirt podcast over the last week at work, which is it's sort of similar to Sudden but Inevitable, where you have never seen Star Trek: The Next Generation, which is near and dear to several hearts on this screen. And your friends, trusted advisors, are taking you through one episode at a time, much as we are doing with Josh and Kylie. And I like,
I
me,
love
if we
that.
dwell on this whole if we dwell on how much effort Cameron has gone to be on our show and how excited I am to be Star Trek podcast adjacent and all of that stuff, we're never going to get to the show because I'm going to start crying, and then it's going to be this mess where we're all like, okay, dude, pull it together. We're just hanging out to talk about nerd stuff. And it's like, yeah, I understand that, but this means a lot to me, you guys. I have so much fun every week. And then I was listening to Cameron's podcast and they have a ton of fun. And I'm just like, okay, this is going to be fun. It feels like a match made in heaven. If you do listen to the Green Shirt podcast, you may know Cameron's last name to be Harry Buns and not Harrison. So if there's
Ah.
any
Deep
of
cut.
your
Deep
listeners,
cut.
I just wanted to bring that up. I want them to know that we aren't just talking about listening to this show. Okay. I love Cameron's show. Go listen to Green Shirt podcast. It's definitely worth your time.
I have a question.
And definitely follow Cameron on Twitter at GreenShirt87. Go ahead, Ricky D. You have a question?
Yeah, I am very lost in this world of Star Trek. I've seen very little of it. I know what a red shirt is. That's the person who dies every episode because they're not really part of the crew. They're an extra, basically. Is a green shirt
In
something?
the original series, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Not so much in Next Generation. I feel like freaking Riker
Okay,
is a red
so
shirt. So
So Ricky, in the original series, gold was the command color, right? So captains, commanders, guys in charge of the division, they would wear gold because they're in charge. Now, when they did the Next Generation, they put the gold uniform on Patrick Stewart, and rumor has it that it looked awful. So they were like, okay, let's have that be red instead. So they made red the command color. But yes, in the original series, all of the low-ranking guys, they were wearing the red shirt, and they would always get killed on away missions constantly. Green shirts, I wouldn't say that the uniform is green. It's more of a turquoise in the Next Generation. Anyway, Cameron, I'm going to let you explain the terminology of your show because it's your show. I just wanted to give Ricky the most detailed version of that first step as possible. Also, I want to say hello, Callie D. Thank you for being here with us. I know it's 4:30 in the morning where you are, so thank you for being here with us. Also, hello to Shepard, Susie, and the rest of our viewers.
Rosie.
You guys, I love you so much. Thank you for being here. So, anyways, Cameron, what's a green shirt? Sorry.
A green shirt is me. It's someone who's never seen Star Trek.
Like a green horn.
It was a
The
terminology of my own
Exactly.
creation, yes. And so I
I
will
love
forgive you guys for not naming your show The Green Coats. It's really the only problem I have with the show, and I will look past it. Just add a
Okay,
little bit of more nerdery, though. I believe I've read that the command shirts for the original show were actually green, but because of the lighting
Yes.
and the material,
Yes.
they appeared gold, and then they eventually just made them gold. Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I'd read. That was the word on the street. I wasn't sure if it was apocryphal or not, but
So here's the thing. I feel like we should just do a Star Trek episode. Do you guys
Just
want to
for you
abandon
guys.
Firefly for this
Jesse-
hour? Like, I'm good
Jesse,
with
do
this.
it.
I've spent the
No.
last
Not on the
3 years,
Jaynestown episode.
the last 3
Right.
years talking about Star Trek. I am ready to talk about something else, something completely different.
All right.
You know,
Okay.
a misfit crew of a spaceship
Yeah.
that sees themselves as a family out exploring the known edges of the verse. Something completely different from Star Trek.
Yes, you're sick of
Sounds wonderful.
professionals. That makes
That's
total
that's
sense.
it. There
to
we
me.
go.
All right. Okay. Well, normally what we would do here is jump into some corrections, and we do have some corrections this week. There's one mistake in particular that I've just been making endlessly, and I'm gonna try and get it completely, totally, maximum fixed here this time. I'm gonna try it. So, in several episodes, I have been referring to the pin that Badger wears. I've alternatively called it a lapel pin, a hat pin, different kinds of pins, all that kind of stuff. So, to clarify, it is a lapel pin, and it is a feather from a flamingo, not a peacock hat pin, as I said in the last episode, and probably the episode prior. Thank you, Shepard Saxon, for being willing to bring this up every time I screw it up. She said, I'm sorry to be nitpicky. And I was like, no, I need you to be nitpicky because that's who I am. Like, if this was your podcast and you did that, I would be writing it down. So thank you, Shepard. I appreciate it. I also, in the last episode, I had mentioned Jane running through the tunnel of horror in reference to the episode prior, and clearly that was actually Simon who had done that and not Jane who had done that. So that was my fault. Last episode, I also incorrectly identified Shepard Susie as the one who had asked Josh to maybe not take his ratings quite so seriously, maybe just, breathe and have some fun. And that was actually Shepard Rosie who had asked me to communicate that to Josh. And it's just because she loves you and she cares about you and she doesn't want you to feel extra stress. So my apologies,
appreciate
Shepard
it.
Rosie. We've got it cleared up. We figured out that Josh is trying to watch from multiple angles there. Now, this is really exciting.
And this one,
for me
I
'cause I've
even
never
watched this
gotten-
one from another angle too. So we'll talk about that later, though.
Right. Well, so it's very exciting for me because I've never gotten to do this before. Cameron, I think you have a correction to issue.
I have a grand mistake, indeed. Correction. I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but I do want to bring back up The Murder on the Orient Express. Now, one of your well-read listeners last week, yes, did I correctly identify it as a classic Agatha Christie mystery. But the film geek in me will not be soothed until I at least acknowledge the 1974 Academy Award-winning classic. I don't know if it was the first adaptation, but the most well-known adaptation until the Kenneth Branagh version, which also had a litany of who's actors that you might have known at the time. We've got Vanessa Redgrave. We've got Anthony Perkins. Albert Finney was, I'm not going to try to butcher Poirot's name, Sean frickin' Connery, people. So I need to put that out there into the verse.
Yes. In my attempt
I'm
to be less
kind of-
reductive,
wait.
I managed to be even more reductive of the thing. So it's kind of
Did I-
impressive if you think
Did
about
I
it.
really mess up somewhere? What did I do?
No, Josh.
Only by omission.
Okay, two things. Let's put a lapel pin in this. Saxon has corrected me for the final time. It's not a feather, it's an entire flamingo. It's shaped like a little flamingo, and it's on his okay. It's a lapel pin shaped like a flamingo. I'm bad at podcasting, you guys. I'm sorry. I am so bad at okay. Thank you, Saxon. Anyways, here's the thing, Josh. You didn't make a mistake. Somewhere in passing, somebody mentioned Murder on the Orient Express, and then I was like pushing forward, like yeah, like get to the next point, and you were like, I think it's based on a book. I think it's based on a book, and that wasn't incorrect. It's just that it was like this seminal work of Agatha Christie that spans decades and mediums and all this different stuff. So it's like
yes, it was based on a book. You dumbass. Is kind of what that was.
It's more of like it was based on like one of the great books, right? Like
one of the greatest books of all time.
Right, he's one of the literary
all right.
institutions as far as characters, and Agatha Christie clearly is an institution in and of herself. So it wasn't really you.
Apologize?
I loved the level of specificity that we got on that correction the first time. And Cameron, thank you so much for bringing even further specificity to that. That tickles me in exactly the right way. Josh, did you get the correction that I sent you? Yes.
I believe so. It's on the
It is the last correction we have. Yes.
Okay, so it's from pages.ss on Instagram. Hi. As always, love the last episode. On the note on whether the dude in the town knew or had anything to do with the whole saffron thing, that has to be something I said. In the original script, when Mal finds saffron at the cabin thing, it was confirmed that he did. Mal says, "You always work for Elder Gottman?" Saffron replies, "I work with lots of folk. He's thrown me a few choice fish. What'll become of dear Elder?" And then Mal goes on to say, "Oh, he'll be laying
Don't
eyes
you
on
worry.
me soon enough. Yeah, and to think I saved his town from vicious bandits." Now, of course, Saffron's not the most reliable of sources, but for me, Mal's response seems to confirm that the Elder did in fact have an involvement in the whole ordeal, although it's never mentioned in the actual episode. Okay.
But to the point, we had asked about it. We specifically were like, okay,
Yep.
so was the guy in on the whole plan? And they addressed it in the original script, but then they cut the scene. So, I mean, Star Trek is notorious for explaining things that take this long to explain and then cutting it. So I'm not going to like fault Firefly for it, but it's like, come on, dude, it's a 45-minute show. You had time. You could have left that in. Plus, then we would have got more time at the sexy assassin cabin. And I don't think anybody would have complained about that. But
Why wasn't the episode named that?
Sexy assassin cat.
it probably was when they were shooting it. That was probably the code name that
That's
they used.
wonderful.
Did you say
So-
that was our final Goram mistake?
That's
Ricky,
the last one
I
that
feel like-
I had. So
Mm.
if you guys have more,
Well, there was
Dude.
one that I was concerned about, and I think you're hiding it from us.
it's not that I'm hiding it from you, Ricky.
I
It's
think you're
that
hiding it from our listeners.
I'm not hiding it from our listeners. It's that I know Josh. I know Josh well enough to know that if we don't mention this at all, he won't remember it until we get to it in natural
Well,
discussion.
In the interest of full disclosure, I'd like to bring up another
All right.
Goram mistake that Jesse made.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Last week,
This is still available on video, so I have not erased it from the record, just so that you know. Go ahead.
last week on our video podcast, Jesse mentioned Shepherd Book and his hair flying out and how River responded to it. But that wasn't on last week's episode. That was on this week's
It was
episode.
on this week's episode.
So,
Okay.
in
How did I
order
not
to
notice that?
hide his Goram mistake, he cut it out of our audio
Of the audio.
podcast. And
Of
I
the
noticed
audio
that when I
version.
was listening.
And you know who didn't notice that when they were listening? Josh.
Nope.
And
Nope.
I only did it for Josh because I know that he's
Interesting.
always got his wheels turning and he's like, oh, that's a hint for something that's gonna come up later. And I knew if I pointed it out, he would be like, oh, why does he need to correct that? Like it must be from a really important episode. And that maybe Shepherd Book's hair is made of Jedi magic or something. But Ricky, I appreciate you holding me to account. I will, like I said, this is all still available on the video version. You can go back and see exactly what Ricky's talking about. You'll also see Josh and Kylie go like this.
Yeah, right.
But Josh, am I correct in assuming that had Ricky not said anything, you would not have noticed until we got there in the conversation? And maybe not even then.
No, I honestly listened to the episode over again at work, and it was very like off and on that I was really paying attention.
Yeah.
It sounded great,
I don't
and
remember.
like I remember some of the conversations, but like I trust you and your editing skills right now, and with the 5 other podcasts that I'm dealing with on the network, I listen to it very, when I'm at work, so it's kind of.
Yes.
I would have never noticed.
Well, and
not
it's-
even a little bit.
Thank you.
And I downloaded the video.
there you go,
on my
Ricky.
computer, so
There you go, Ricky.
I see what's going on.
I'm not.
see, and Callie.
I'm
even
not
says
trying
here,
to
Josh and
say-
Kylie were so confused. I don't even remember that.
It was funny. See?
Neither.
Now, Ricky, I'm not saying that you were incorrect to correct that, because you were definitely correct to correct that. But much like Mal, sometimes I just don't give all the information because I don't want to have to fight with my family when I'm trying to get my shuttle off the planet. Sometimes they have limited information, and that's okay because I know what's best for them. And I'm here to make sure that they make it to the next episode. But I appreciate your stickeriness, stick, whatever that word is. But yeah, I think that's it for Goram mistakes. Please take Cameron out from behind the banner.
Hold up.
So,
Oh no! See, you're a little behind.
unless
That's what's
actually, I guess I
happening.
should ask: do you guys have?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay. Give me one moment.
It's like, what's going on?
Notice you changed your guys' names. I like it.
Yeah.
Now the show is perfect. Now your show's perfect.
See?
There we go,
See?
okay.
There it is. I was waiting
we
for you
good?
to notice.
Okay. All right. Now the show is perfect. Okay. So unless you guys
He's
have any
definitely
other
behind.
corrections to issue, I think we're ready.
Yeah.
Do we know why?
No. Sorry, guys that are watching. You could here, Ricky. Let's go with the. We're gonna go into episode 7, Jaynestown, and Ricky, you should do the synopsis. I'm gonna take Jesse out. He's gonna restart his stream, and then we'll bring him back in, and he should be up to speed after you've read the synopsis.
All
Yeah?
right.
Yeah.
What-
I don't have
This
a piece
is
of paper to
episode.
hand you.
Sorry.
I don't have a piece of paper to hand you.
Oh, that's all right. It already showed up. This is episode 7, Jaynestown, written by Ben Edlund, directed by Marita Grabiak. And it
Interesting.
debuted October 18th, 2002. The crew lands on a planet to meet a contact. Although Jane Cobb insists he is wanted there, they are dumbfounded to learn that the locals revere him as a folk hero. Mal attempts to use Jane's status as a distraction to move smuggled goods across town. However, Magistrate Higgins releases Jane's former accomplice, Stitch Hessian, whom Jane abandoned years ago during a botched robbery and now seeks revenge. Stitch publicly confronts Jane, revealing what the townspeople believe happened to be false. Stitch shoots, but a villager jumps in front of Jane and dies. Jane kills Stitch and urges the townspeople to stop viewing him as a hero. Serenity is landlocked in Higgins' order to try to capture Jane. Higgins' 26-year-old son, Fess, encouraged by Inara to stand up for himself after losing his virginity to her, as paid for by Higgins, orders the unlocking of the ship and Serenity departs.
Now that we all
you
know
guys hear me
what...
now?
Oh, hi,
Yes.
Jesse.
Are you a little more on
Cool.
time now? A little
I
bit.
think so. I'm trying. I don't know what happened.
Not really.
I think we got.
Just everybody,
I think what
everybody
happened
know
was
that Jesse's
got-
on about a 3.5 second delay.
Oh, no. That's a lot.
Let's give this another shot. I'm gonna try switching my connection over.
This is what happens with the live stream sometimes. It's a thing. So
It's because of me, guys, isn't it?
look at that
That
beautiful
fourth
face.
window.
Look at that beautiful face.
Oh, poor Jesse.
Testing.
That was
What
that was the best face ever.
What do you want? I got nothing. I'm stranded. I'm suffering. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's my Wi-Fi. Can you guys still hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Oh my
Oh, yeah,
gosh,
yeah.
this delay
You're
is
still-
so
you're
bad.
still behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
here's the thing. I feel really bad. Sorry, you guys. I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna try and see what I can do here. But here's the thing about this episode. You right away, you just get this feeling like, okay, having been through everything that we've been through in the series so far, right? Like maybe it's time, maybe we get another one of those breather episodes. Not necessarily a filler episode, but just like a quick little, aside where everybody's on the ship together and there's maybe something small going on and they got a problem to solve together. And I kind of like remembering back through watching it, I was like, I don't remember actually anything about this other than it's called Jaynestown and that it's funny, but I don't remember basically anything about it. And then as soon as it started up, the entire episode flooded back into my memory. I was like, oh, okay, yep, 100% remember this episode. We're about to have a really, really good time. It's so much fun. There is one thing, I guess I don't know if you guys covered this while I was disconnected, so I hope that you didn't. But if you're watching on Hulu, you get these narrations at the start of every episode where it's either Book or Mal, and they go, here's how it is. We used up the Earth, so we had to move out, and now we terraformed this whole other galaxy. But if you're watching on DVD, I guess, that's not there. You were saying that those aren't present at all. Is that right, Cameron?
Yeah, no, this is the first time I've been watching it on Hulu, and I never watched it on cable either, which I think also had the narrations. And so, yeah, I was like, I do not remember these weird narrations beforehand. And then today I was doing some research, and yeah, it turns out they were made for when it aired, and then they didn't put them on the DVDs, and now they are on Hulu.
It's kind of an apology for airing out of order.
Yeah.
Because you don't get that first hour and a half episode, so you're missing out on a whole bunch. So they're like, well, here's 60 seconds of exposition. Here we go.
And I kind of have like a love-hate relationship with them, because on one hand, they feel like Ricky just said, that feels like the studio told Joss, hey, write us a narration. You've got 30 minutes. On the other, and they feel very 90s. But it is fun that they kind of have different ones for each episode, and that they have different characters give them, although I guess it is just Mal and Book. And I was like, oh man, it would have been great if we got more characters. I would love to hear Jane's opening narration for the show.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's a missed opportunity.
I can't even.
Well, and it has
that's
it
a
uses
huge
the same
missed opportunity.
device. Yeah, and it's the same device as in Next Generation, where normally they would have a captain's log, right? He would just go, here's the situation, here's where we are, here's what we're doing, here's where we're headed. So instead of, having Mal, who is the captain, give a log entry, they're like, okay, we'll just have him give like the basic of the whole universe really quick and hope that's good enough. The first thing that I wrote down in my notes was Simon is sitting there, right? And he's trying to figure out what's going on. and he hears like some debris hit the floor. And I thought that debris sounded like 90s sitcom soundtrack drums, like, and then there was going to be like a funny joke after that. But, of course, then he goes in and he sees Jane.
I mean, that was kind of a funny joke after that.
That's what I thought it was.
because-
I forgot. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because he walks into the
goes in and he
office,
sees Jane
his
in there.
doctor's office. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like,
His
"I needed
infirmary.
tape."
Jane is such a toddler. Like
Yeah.
I have walked in on that exact same situation with my 5-year-old. So I think looking for tape, I did not realize before being a parent that you cannot keep tape in a household with children. They will, it just disappears.
And
So
this
yes,
is the
I,
only time I'll bring it up, but like this is the only time I got it in this episode
That's our favorite.
when he's sitting in there like taping himself up,
Yeah.
and the doctor's office is just a mess, and you're just like, "Oh man, is Jane dumb?"
Yep.
he's definitely
But
self-centered. I do love how when
right, it's that he's self-centered.
when Mal comes in and he's like, you know, you can't take guns on the planet. And Jane is so proud of what he's done. Yep, that's not why it's not taped to my hip. He's so pleased. He thinks he's going to get like a pat on the shoulder from the captain.
He's like, look, nobody can see it, so that counts, right? That's fine. And then we get maybe the birth of the Steve Carell chest waxing joke idea, right?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
he pulls
No
some of
doubt.
that tape off his waist and he goes,
Yeah.
and then you cut,
Yep.
smash cut to the theme song.
Yeah, I love that.
I really love the line that Mal gives him there where he goes, "Why are you arguing what's already been decided?" And you can see on Jane's face that he immediately knows he's beat, right? He doesn't fight that. He just goes, okay, like he knows that his place is to accept that and move forward.
He knows who
So
the captain
I
is.
like that illustration of that dynamic. Yeah.
It did remind me also
Despite
of
maybe
last
being a
episode.
bit of a whiner about it.
Yes, oh, very much. When with Saffron, I think it was the end of that cold open, and it cuts to Mal when she says she's his wife, and he doesn't respond. He gives that like double blink. And here you don't hear Jane scream. I think that's a much better choice just to see that expression. Before we get too far into the episode, though, sorry.
I wanted to just mention that whole scene with the doctor when he's like, "Oh, I'm strapping up to I might have enemies down there," and the doctor's like, "Enemies? You? What?"
Simon has some lines this episode.
Yes,
Yeah.
he
does.
did.
he kind of came into his own in this episode, I feel like, and he had a drunk moment, which was really great. I really like drunk Simon. I think him and I would be friends. Sober Simon, not so much, but
Oh, no, he's a very different person. He's John. Before we get too deep in the episode, I did have a question for the green coats over here, Josh and Kylie.
Okay.
Just when you were sitting down to watch this, or when you probably before then heard the name of this episode, Jaynestown, did you have any notions about what it might be about? What did you think an episode titled Jaynestown would be about?
Well, this one we were particularly excited about for a couple of reasons. Just because I think Ricky and Jesse have been kind of hyping it up. But also Josh mentioned he was playing, whatever in Borderlands, and then
I was wondering.
he can touch on that a little bit more. But it's interesting, obviously. Like I was kind of thinking that they were going to go to a place called Jaynestown. But it was, a place that was called something that like really is Jaynestown. So
yeah, and I went into it thinking it was just knowing what I knew from Borderlands. Ricky and I actually streamed last night. We played the whole. It's called the Jaynestown mission.
How's that spelled?
And it's Jaynis, but his last name is Cobb. He looks like this.
So for
He's,
like
he's
licensing
this guy.
purposes, they couldn't name him Jane or something.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, the enemy, like he does kind of look a little similar,
to Jane's disguise getup.
with his disguise. Yeah. So I had kind of an idea that for some reason he had some random followers, just because Borderlands had inclined that was the case. That like he took over this town because he had a bunch of crazy followers that ended up worshiping him for whatever reason.
Well, and
so-
if you look at the background, it's pretty clear that like it's in this
Oh, yeah.
industrial mutter
Yeah, that's
kind
it's-
of area.
It's
Oh,
funny
yeah.
because like playing Borderlands, it's very Firefly-esque.
Totally.
You know, going through it, and the music
Yep.
is Firefly-esque, and it has a gun called the Mal whatever it is, and I don't know, just
There are a
doing this
lot of
whole mission.
references.
Yeah, and it's
That's
like a
interesting.
full 4-mission quest that you go on, or 5-mission
Yeah.
quests, and it's all about Taylor Cobb trying to kill his brother Janus.
Yep.
And
That's pretty crazy.
yeah, it's very.
And there's even a
interesting,
guy.
so-
There's a portion of the mission where you go open a lockbox, and a crazy guy jumps out of it and tries to kill you.
Ooh.
Yes.
It's very
Thank you.
very
Yeah.
clearly a lot of
And he
loving
had a shotgun.
references.
He had a shotgun.
Okay, so here's where I'll point this out, Ricky D. Here's where I'll point this out, Ricky D. For any of the people that were watching the stream last night while they were playing video games, Josh goes, "Oh, okay, there's a guy stuck in a box. I wonder if that has something to do with the plot of the episode." And Ricky's like, yeah, no, totally. Not well, yeah, I mean, he's stuck in a box. Yeah, he's been in there for a while, and he used to work with Jane. So you gave Josh the whole plot of the episode, like the night before he watched it, and you're on here like, oh, you're trying to hide your thing. Like, come on, man. Come on, Ricky D. From Best Flicks with Ricky D.
I don't think
Get
I
out of my
spoiled as much as
face.
you're acting.
Get
like
out of
I
my
did.
face! Oh, well, it's
Okay,
really
okay,
easy.
kids,
If people
kids,
want to
I'm
go
gonna
look
come
at
in.
it, it's on the Twitch archive, and they can go watch.
Nice
Just pointing
backhand
out.
pimp.
I love you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Promotion. Nice promotion there.
I couldn't
The
I
call
couldn't
around
wait to
there,
get it
the
out. I was
around,
like,
that
oh
was
my
great.
God. And I was trying to furiously type. I was like, Ricky, don't say anything. But I was like, no, if I say something, then Josh will know. So I was like, I can't do anything about this. But anyways,
And
You
I
know
found
that I love you,
really,
Ricky
really
D.
cool.
The stitch was out of the box.
Yep. Yep.
right? It
And
was.
he
it
had a
was- yeah.
shotgun, which was the best
So-
part about it, because you kill him and you pick up his shotgun. And I was probably
Right.
like, Ricky, you need this?
Well,
You
and
wanna
he
sell
and the
it?"
and all their dialogue is very like, I'm an idiot, like I'm overly macho, I'm gonna kill you, get out of my town. Like it's definitely lovingly written as a love letter to Firefly. And it was fun to watch. And like I said, you should definitely go check out twitch.tv/TMA games so you can watch Ricky and Josh play through the Jaynestown mission in Borderlands. So here's the thing. The next thing up in this episode, Ricky, the reason I asked you if you were on autopilot or not was because I really like that we see that Inara is flying her shuttle, right? She's
Mhm.
not like hitting a button that's like, okay, take off, let's fly into the atmosphere. She's like got the levers, she's doing the altimeter, I think that's an accurate word. She's doing all kinds of flight stuff. Like it's very cool. You can see that she's got multiple levels of intelligence. She's not just one thing or another thing, which we've discussed before. And I loved that. And then is it just me, or when Book says to Simon, hey, I'll watch your sister, I feel like we've been developing a rapport. Do you feel like Book doesn't even believe himself when he says that?
Well, I
Like,
think
he's
River
not super
was
confident,
like
right?
on her best behavior at that point. River was just like, oh,
That's
I'm
true.
just a good little girl. And she's
Yep.
just like, her dress is billowing in the wind and she hasn't done anything wrong. And she's like, I'm easy to take care of. No worries about me. I'm not going to melt anybody's brain.
This
Is that some
time.
foreshadowing? Did you just spoil something?
See,
No,
Ricky,
she
look at what
claimed
you're
that
doing.
earlier. She claimed that she could melt people's brains
Yes, I
at
know.
one point.
I don't mean to jump on you. I'm totally playing. But Book had this look on his face of like, yeah, we've been developing a rapport. It should be okay. Like even his next line is like, I mean, I'm a shepherd, right? Like this should be fine. Like he doesn't seem as confident as he's trying to project to Simon. But I love that the way that he realizes what's happening, and Simon goes, stop describing me. Like, that's,
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's really all you're doing, but stop it.
Yeah, actually wrote that in my notes. Fine, I'll go. Just stop describing me.
And then
Yeah, that
Jane
was,
gets
that was
upset
fun.
even by the ruse, right, of saying that Simon's in charge. He's like, okay,
Mhm.
we'll pretend Simon's in charge and he's going to buy all the stuff. And even that pretending to do that upsets Jane. He's like, no, he's the boss. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
It's
This day just keeps
It's
getting
crime.
better and better.
you
And
know
what
how
a
to do
what a
crime.
straight '90s line. Like or even like late
Yeah.
80s movie. Oh, this day just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. Speaking of 80s movies,
No, go ahead.
I just wrote, it's a small thing. They landed in the bog of eternal stench. Because as soon as they land, there's all those like flatulent like bubbles in the mud pits, and they're all
Lines.
I don't know. I
Well,
had a very labyrinth flashback.
You also see like
Yes.
Mal and Zoe and Jane, they walk off of the landing gear and they just like it's nothing. But then there's Simon and a couple of the more higher class types. They're the ones that are reacting to it
Yeah.
versus the people who have had a life more in the muck. They're just like, yeah, this is life.
Mhm.
So you kind of saw
And
a little bit of a difference in
me-
the backgrounds.
And it's interesting too, because it's like they're taking time every episode to go, here's a class difference. Here's
Mhm.
a lower class, middle class. Here's a middle class, upper class. Like every episode. But speaking of 80s movies feeling things, I felt like the Overseer character is just like 100% like 1989 second tier boss level bad guy, right? Like
He's
he's
straight
the
out
most
of Oil
generic-
Town or something from Mad Max.
Yes.
I was trying to think of the Mad
Oh,
Max
man.
town. Barter Town, right? He's
Yes,
straight out of
town.
Barter Town.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
in my notes,
he's-
the first thing it's I say oil, maybe, and then it goes to it's mud, gross. Also mud Russia.
Okay.
Because he's just
So it's like
oh yes, I think it's the best mud,
Yeah.
and we get you the best mud I
Yeah,
can
it's
find.
totally
We're
with
going
the
to-
accent. That was one thing I noticed
I
too.
think
I was like,
it's-
oh, he must be bad.
Yeah.
and it's and it's implied to be like some sort of like ultra lightweight super strong ceramics, right? Like it's some kind of
Mhm.
future
So he says,
ceramic
depending
thing.
what you can add stuff to it to make it that strong.
The
Yeah.
best mud in the verse.
It's
Oh yes, it was still
it's
the best
clearly
mud.
cotton.
Yeah. I'm so bad with the Russian accent. Right now.
It's terrible.
I don't think he was Russian. I'm pretty sure the overseer
pretty
guy
sure.
was like no, I'm
Here in
pretty sure he
Soviet
was
Russia,
like
we have best
cocky.
mud.
I think, I
He was
really
like this.
because I got more like, oh my god, I got more like
No, he
Irish
was like-
Scottish.
I got
Thank
more
you,
like,
number
is
one.
Overseer dumb?
That's what I was thinking.
No, overseer is definitely dumb. But I think Kylie is right.
Oh, we all agree
He
on
was
that.
Scottish or Irish. He said, "Problem in Worker Town, sir." So
That's
it's like
yeah.
it was,
All right,
and they called
agree
it
to
Worker
disagree.
Town. Like, come on. Anyways, they would because they're bad guys. They don't have any imagination.
Well,
Um,
Well,
Come down to
he
work.
straight
So
up
they-
brags about like, yeah, this stuff is cheap. I'm not going to even try the Scottish accent.
Right.
This stuff is cheap because we use indentured servants. Okay, I went a little bit.
Cameron,
I slipped
Cameron,
in.
is it you on the Green Shirt podcast whose Jean-Luc Picard accent is pretty much just Sean Connery?
That is, yes. It started as an accident and now
Okay.
it's just a shtick. Jean-Luc Picard.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as I heard it, I was
Because we're
like,
not stopping.
that's not Picard at all. But I like it.
it
Yeah.
was.
Slavic.
Oh.
Slavic.
Oh, sorry, Lily. Oh, shit.
Slavic? The overseer in Mudtown was Slavic, you think? I don't think
Would
so.
that
I mean,
be
I'm willing
a
to
form
take your
of
word for it,
Russian,
but I don't think
maybe?
it was.
Is that am
No,
I
Josh,
correct?
it's adjacent.
It's more
Thinking
Russian
that
than
it's a-
Scottish.
Maybe over in the
It's a
Russian side of things?
Okay, Ricky D,
Goran
get on your
it
computer,
mistakes.
go look up who played the overseer of Mudtown, please, and then raise your hand and yell profusely when you figure it out. Um, So you were right though that Simon has some lines in this episode, right? Like most of my notes are actually lines that Simon said, or lines that the rest of them said. But I love the scene when they're in the bar and you're getting to know, like, yes, they make ceramics, yes, they're poor, but they also have a really good time after they get off work every night. They go to the bar and they get drunk. They talk about Mutter's Milk. It's 15%
Milk.
alcohol. I think the highest, ABV that I've ever had is like 11%,
Mhm.
and that was like, I mean, it floored me. So 15% in a beer. I'm talking about the highest alcohol content beer I've ever had, Josh. I think it was 11%. So
I've had a
15% would probably just
14.
knock me right out.
What was the 14%?
14% was actually at a brewery. It was like a German porter, and it was up in Lafayette, Colorado. I went there with my dad. But anywho, when they were talking about it, he was like, "Yeah, it's got your nutrients and your whatever, like
Get your
all
grandma's
the thing you got,
Thanksgiving
and
dinner.
it's also got a 15% alcohol." And I was like, "Nice!" Woo! I was into it.
Liquid bread.
Get drunk
as
while
a-
you
as a
get your
Simon
fill,
explained.
son.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
man.
drinking a Guinness, I guess. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Thank you for clarifying that, Callie. I was so confused. I was like, I don't know who Lily is, but she's clearly been offended, and we feel bad. It's
Yeah,
Callie.
I was
YouTube
like,
change your
Callie.
username.
well, I'm glad we have a new person, but she's
Oh
like,
man,
Also, hi,
she's like,
Saxon.
I'm only
Hi, Jazz.
joining to tell them that they're wrong.
right?
Yes, hi Jazz.
Well,
Thank you for joining.
at least Kelly knows us well enough to know that we're not
Yes,
hateful,
Ricky
just
D.
ignorant.
Ricky
All right.
D for the win. Who played this
Okay.
character?
He had a strong accent and seemingly Slavic, possibly Russian speech pattern.
Okay, we should have known. Thank you, Callie. You're always right, Callie, and I guess that by proxy makes Josh right.
Yeah, apparently
I
he's
guess
like
Josh has an
kinda
ear for
right.
accents.
Yeah. You'll notice this is the first time Josh has been corrected, therefore
I'm
he's
not.
very
I'm not
excited.
right very often, and when I get to be right, it's just fantastic. It's like
Ooh.
predictions. If I
Okay.
ever have a right prediction, I'm just so stoked about it.
It's exciting.
So this song starts playing.
Wait, hold
Well,
up.
Alright,
we skipped the
Go ahead.
statue.
What are
Yeah,
we talking
we
about?
skipped the
Go ahead,
statue.
go ahead. This is why we give the synopsis so we can go out of order. If you guys have something,
Yes.
always jump in. You know how I am. I just steamroll. Ricky, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Cameron, did you have anything to say about the statue?
And not particularly, just that
Okay,
there was a statue.
Well, when Simon finally sees the statue, do you remember what he says?
This is what going crazy must
This
feel
must
like.
be what
Yeah.
Well,
what
in
he
particular,
said.
right before we cut to the opening song, he goes, "Son of a bitch."
Oh, yes.
And he was just talking to Kaylee about only swearing when it's appropriate.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't catch that.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
He only
Thank
swears
Beautiful,
when it's
Ricky D.
appropriate. And
Yep.
Kaylee was going, "Well, that's the thing about swearing, Simon, is that it's not appropriate." And then a few
Yeah.
minutes down the line, he's going, "Son of a bitch."
Yep. And I liked
That
how
was the end of the cold open, yeah.
I liked how Wash
Yeah.
said the statue captured his essence.
He looks kind of mean.
He's yeah.
That's
That's
what I
That's
mean.
what I mean. Yeah.
That was
I-
a
you know,
great Kaylee.
Honest,
Sorry,
honestly,
that was a great Kaylee.
Thank you.
the first I didn't think that the statue looked like Jane very much. at
No.
all.
Me too. I thought he looked
I
like
did.
Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah,
Nice.
100%.
But I think
Wow,
it's just-
good pull. That was a
100%.
great pull right there.
I think it just goes to
Definitely
show like
not
how much Jane is his mustache and goatee. That if you like color that the same as his face, it's a completely different
Yeah.
face.
Well, and they did good on the body.
He has
'cause
no
it was, like,
defining
muscular,
features.
but-
I was trying to figure out what movie it was, but it looked like Jane had been turned to sand.
Mhm.
What
yeah.
movie was that where everyone gets turned to sand?
Is that like a mummy movie?
It's gotta be.
Spider-
It's gotta
Oh,
be
yeah.
something ridiculous. But
Okay,
there was
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was like a movie where people get turned to sand, and it's very awful, and it
doesn't
doesn't
good.
look like the people at all. And I feel like that's kind
That
of what
could
the
be that.
statue
Could be
was.
that. Yeah.
Like,
Look, these mutters
So,
are not artistically
Really quickly,
talented guys. Let's be honest about who made the statue.
right? They did. They
Sure,
did the
yeah.
best with what they had.
They were drunk on mutter's milk and went out there and rolled up
Yeah.
some
so
of
just
that
really
mud.
quickly.
Boom, right.
Yep. Really quickly before we move on, I think I might be delayed again, you guys. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I want to mention so the two actors who play Simon and Kaylee, Sean Marr and Jewel State, they just did a charity thing on Zoom where you could go chat with them, and all of the proceeds went to help people in Texas affected by ice storms, things like that. So I just wanted to bring that up
Very
and point
cool.
out that like even outside of the Firefly family, these brown coats will still come together for causes that matter, and they will still help each other like when they really need it. And I think that's really cool thing about the brown coat community, and it makes it even less surprising that we've been getting the kind of love that we've been getting. There's actually also a Twitter account called Jaynestown that you can follow.
Oh
on
man,
Twitter,
I gotta
and
get
it's
on
the
that.
profile picture. It's that just the head, yeah. So
Nice.
he's in our
Really
circle. If you go look
cool.
at our Chirpy circle on Twitter, it's in there, I think. So definitely go check that
Huh.
out. Yeah. So Saxon actually has lots of connections with a lot of really cool Firefly stuff, and she has been just impossibly kind enough to send some of that stuff to us. And it should be arriving any day now. So be on the lookout for lots of video content coming from Sudden But Inevitable that has to do with that, and probably some bonus episodes too, and probably some videos of me going, "Oh my god, I love you so much!" Lots of stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff coming up from Sudden But Inevitable. Okay, so is it okay if I talk about the scene where they're singing the song now? Is that
I guess you can
guys-
talk about possibly the best scene of the episode, Jesse.
Are we talking about this song?
this is the song? Everybody knows. This
YouTube's
song,
gonna
right?
totally
So-
pull us if I play it anymore, so I'm gonna have to turn it down. Sorry,
Yeah, so
guys.
go ahead.
So
But-
tasty.
Maybe you'll hear more of it in the audio version. There's no way to know. Anyways, I love they're panning around this bar, right? And you're seeing all these different levels of drunk, right? Some people are wasted, some people are a little bit tipsy, and there's one guy that they show in particular who's like physically like holding himself up, and you can see him like, like trying to breathe and focus and not lose it so that he can sing this song. And it's like, dude, that's an exact drunk guy at a bar that I have seen sing a song. Like,
And like his favorite song, where he's like,
important.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's the Backstreet
It
Boys.
means a lot to him, and
It's the greatest.
So I
Oh
was
my god, it's my
wondering,
song!
Ricky D, did you girl, yeah.
Oh, he's way behind.
Ricky D, in the commentary on this, did they mention whether or not they actually got everybody drunk for this? Because it feels like they did. Like
This
I
is
can't tell.
another episode with no commentary.
Oh
What?
man.
Oh,
I feel like
rough.
that's kind of some garbage.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, we've got commentary on like
Huh.
less than half of these episodes, and this would have been an awesome episode to have
Yeah.
commentary on.
Yeah.
Adam
Why not
Baldwin
do
got
them
drunk
on
and didn't
all?
show up to
Maybe-
the studio.
It's gotta be what it is. Like they just like
I
had
don't know.
prior engagements. I feel like if you're gonna release a DVD of a show or like some sort of special Blu-ray years later, you should probably do some sort of
Well,
commentary,
if you're
right?
gonna do it on some episodes, why not do it all? I don't know.
Huh,
Well, I don't know.
that's strange.
Then you
It's-
get like
It's a shame.
It's one of
Yeah,
life's
but-
mysteries.
Yeah.
Maybe you could. I mean, I know he's on Twitter. You could probably just go on there and be like, "Hey, what did you think about this episode?" And he'd be like, "Here's my thoughts." I mean,
Well,
maybe
actually,
it's that easy. I don't know.
speaking of celebrity run-ins on Twitter and Firefly, I tweeted Alan Tudyk
Yeah.
my favorite joke. This is a
Who?
couple weeks
Really?
back on Valentine's Day.
You mean
Oh.
Alan Friedrich?
Yes,
No, he's back to Two Dick because what's her name? His
Zoe
wife,
outranks
Zoe
him.
outranks him. So that took him from Three Dick back to Two Dick, I feel like.
wait,
well,
if he's Alan Tudyk, does that mean he's a Klingon?
Right?
Because
Because they have redundant anatomy
Alan
in
Tudyk.
every.
Okay.
Yes.
So
what a polite
Ricky
way to
doesn't
put
know that.
Redundant
I have
anatomy.
no idea. No, but on Valentine's Day, for some reason, Alan Tudyk's wife, her tweet came across my Twitter profile.
Zoe, I'm just kidding.
No,
Oh, his real life wife.
Yeah.
and she tweeted just happy Valentine's Day to Alan Tudyk, you know, a picture of what they're doing, chocolates, hearts, whatever. And I just retweeted and I commented, "Do you mean Alan Three Dick?" And she retweeted and liked my post. With the,
Yeah, that is
Like,
awesome.
if that comes up in their household at some point and she's like around him and she calls him that, or if that comes up in their household someday, that's going to be unbelievable to me.
No, that's awesome. She's gonna be like, dude, some kid on freaking social media was like Alan Three Dick, and the dude.
she might call him that in bed, Ricky.
That's what I'm saying.
All of his
Okay,
bros are gonna call him that now. And
That was my celebrity
Okay,
encounter
so-
on
That's
If
really
that's
great.
not already a thing,
I
though.
think that's really.
I mean,
cool.
that has to already be a thing, right?
I'm sure we're not the first people to.
Like in college, you don't think that guy got called one dick
Right.
or three dick
Yeah.
or something? Like, come on.
No dick.
now.
Yeah, right, dude.
Come
no
on, Alan.
dick
Come
all
on,
day
don't be a no
long.
dick.
Yeah.
Come on, be a two dick. Come
Shut
on, bro.
up, guys. I'm going to become a successful actor. You just wait.
You know what, man? You're being a real Alan one dick right now, and what I need from you is to be an Alan two dick. Just lock it up. Get your shit
Bring that
together.
two-dick
Let's
energy.
go.
Lock it up. Lock it up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So this will be the cool animated podcast advertisement that we
Right.
have on Twitter all week, and I'll just tag Alan Tudyk in it once a day, right? Like, hey, come,
You know.
Alan Tudyk. I know you listen to the Sudden But Inevitable podcast, so you should probably just come be a guest. I mean, our arms are wide open, my friend. We respect and love you, even though your name has the word dick in it. So.
And
I
you're
would- I would
actually
love to
like our
know-
favorite.
I would
too,
love to
so.
know. Seriously, I would love to know how that was in
Yes.
college. Having, like, did you have fun nicknames and stuff? Like,
Well,
let us know.
And I also want to know if he has that sweet 2000 like
Ah,
haircut.
yeah,
What do
yeah,
they
yeah.
call that when you like
A
swoosh it at the top?
pompadour?
No, it's like
Eh.
where it's flat, but you can tell like you gel it and you comb it forward and it swoops at the front. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh my gosh,
It's like-
kind of like it's kind of like your haircut a little bit. Yes, I like that.
I
It's very
am
classic.
20 years behind. Yes,
go.
on
It is
my
a
hairstyle.
see,
Yes,
see?
He's still got it. He's still
There you
got
go.
it.
Yeah.
For sure.
He's so beautiful.
He
His smile
he's
is so
handsome
genuine.
Man.
He's my favorite.
His smile
for
looks
sure.
like he doesn't have enough face for how happy he is, right? Like
We're still talking
he's
about
so
me,
happy
right?
that he needs additional.
Yeah,
Yes, Cameron.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
of course.
Just
we
making
are.
sure. Just making sure.
World-renowned Star Trek podcaster. For me, I mean, I really love when they get back from this. She just looks at Wash and goes, "You've been drinking, husband," and he's
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
"You
yeah.
can't even hold it together." It's
Oh,
like, Captain, talk to me.
everyone gets drunk.
Talk to me,
Wash had
Captain.
such a good time in this episode.
He really did. He did. Because he was like, normally I'm the one that has to stay and watch the ship. She's
I do
like,
love this
"Well, I
line.
outrank you,
And
so-"
Go see the sights.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. He wants to go to the crappy town where he's a hero. I love that line.
Yep.
So the song
What
is
did you
where we
guys think of-
learn. Oh,
Yes. No. Go ahead.
so
Kevin.
the song is where we learn that what happened is that Jane accidentally became a hero here because they had to dump the money.
I have all the lyrics pulled up right now. You want me to read them? I can read them.
No.
Read
Yeah,
it.
let's read them. Let's do it.
No.
Let's go
It's
for
okay.
it. Here we go.
It's okay.
Ready?
Everybody
do
has
some of
seen
them.
the episode. It's
Is
okay.
this what I'm supposed to
Everybody's-
interrupt him? I don't understand my role right
everybody-
now.
Yes.
Oh,
Your
okay, then
instincts are
I have a
correct,
question.
Cameron.
I have a question for the group.
Thank you.
Has
We have
anyone
to
here-
answer our guest question.
That's right. Has anyone here ever gotten credit for something they don't deserve? Does anyone here have a Jane statue, metaphorically speaking?
Oh,
That's a deep question.
that's a great question.
Yeah, really.
I can
Um,
start if you guys need some time to think.
I might have to ponder.
Please
Yeah.
do.
Sure,
Yes,
I'll tell
Cameron.
my story. In
Thank
high
you.
school, as someone who made a lot of independent horror movies, I had a lot of fake blood. And one April Fools, I took some of the fake blood mass casualty powder to the school and I filled all the toilets in the bathrooms. And I got sent out of the principal's office and they threatened us by saying that this could be vandalism, but we'll let you off easy by just making you go clean some stuff up around the school. The thing is, the day they assigned that happened to be Earth Day. So we were out picking up trash around the school on Earth Day. And this cute girl walks by and goes, "Are you guys picking up for Earth Day?" And we go, "Yes, that's why we're out here picking up." And she thought it was so cool and handed us Earth Day pencils. And today that cute girl is my wife.
What?
Oh,
beautiful story.
Oh.
That's the end of the story. And like 10 years later, we didn't get together.
She
immediately,
knows.
soon after that. But yeah, like years later, we were talking about that. She was like, "I came by and gave you guys Earth Day
Okay.
pencils for that." And I was like, "That's right. You're the one who did that."
Did you tell her the
You
truth?
fool.
Did you
I
tell
was
her-
being
yeah.
punished.
Yeah. No, I mean, but years later after we were
Right,
together.
right,
Yeah.
Right after
That's
you had
really
it, she's
cool, man.
already like
After I locked that shit down.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, which she can't go anywhere now.
So
That
That's
is
a really
my
cool story,
favorite
man.
story,
I really
Cameron.
like
Thank
that.
you for
And
sharing.
now I don't even have any story that I would tell about that would be like, oh, you're a douche.
Hey, right.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sure.
Well, we can revisit it if
I-
you guys think of one.
Yes, I'm sure we all have.
I will. Okay, all
think,
right.
yeah, for
So
me-
I made that chick parm recipe at
Yeah.
an old restaurant I worked at.
Yeah.
That's not mine.
No, I think you told me eventually.
I did.
It's
It's-
Carlos.
No. It was
Oh,
it's
different.
Jason's.
Oh my gosh. Okay, his old boss. Nice. That's a good recipe, though.
Yeah. But I sold the crap out of those chicken salads, man. And I tell you what,
They
people
were
loved
pretty
them.
good. Yeah.
I made
That's
them.
all that matters. That is all that matters.
It was new to the
Ricky
recipe.
D,
See?
did
And
you come
everyone's
up
like,
with?
"Oh,
did you
what a
come up with
douche."
things?
No.
I'm coming up blank.
Yeah, me too, kind of.
I think for me, it's much more likely that I took credit for something that I didn't do than somebody assigned me credit for something that I
You
didn't
can tell
do.
that story too.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
have been
yeah, I love the
intentional.
story.
It would have just happened.
Douchey.
Because
Right,
I-
and
well,
then you would have rolled with it.
I don't have a specific because I probably do it all the time. Like, it, right? Because I have a tendency to act accordingly, if that's the right word that I'm looking for. Oh, did I
Instead of
freeze
acting
again?
a fool.
You're
I
a
hate
Simon. Is
freezing.
that what
Anyways.
you're saying?
I have a tendency to just roll with punches.
No.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least
So
your
like
freeze
if
face is
somebody's
nice
like, "Hey,
this
did this
time."
happen and this happened and this happened and this happened," and it and it gets to a point where I'm like, "Well, I didn't do those things, but it sounds like they think I did, and that's good." Then I'm just gonna let them think that because why else? Why would it be like, "No, punish me. I'm terrible." So
That's that. I think
I'll give it another shot, guys.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna pull him. But
I'll be right.
Okay.
I did want to mention the song was like my favorite part of this episode.
That was so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That was
Um,
a good one.
It was and how like confused everybody was about it made me laugh a lot. Like everyone on the crew was like,
Oh man.
"What is happening?"
I
right
keep
now?"
loving-
Everyone's reactions. Yeah.
Yeah, Jane's reaction because Mal keeps wanting to know what's going on, and Jane.
I don't know.
I
you
have
can,
no
deer in
idea.
headlights. No, really, boss. Captain. Yeah, no, really.
Well,
Yeah.
I like Simon's reaction. Simon's just like,
Oh,
no,
this
is
is
what
what
going mad feels like.
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
facial expressions are. It's just awesome.
Yeah,
It
but,
was-
I mean, it then it gets to the point where Jane really accepts it. You know.
Oh,
Where-
Oh
yeah.
well, then it accepts it and then
He-
soaks it in.
Oh,
Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness!
Well, once,
like
once it gets free booze,
by the end of the song, he's like, "To me."
The man they call me.
He was really loving it there at the end. So I don't know that
Oh,
was,
and he got with a girl finally. He was
I
bitching
know.
about that.
He did.
he almost gave Vera away to get with the girl last episode, so I was really happy for him.
Jane.
He got
And
laid.
he was so much more chill after that. Honestly, he just needed that. He
Yeah.
needed that release.
Okay, so it's great that the song came up and everybody was having fun and everything, but it kind of brought up the question to me in this episode: are we stealing from the poor in this episode? Because usually the cast of Firefly likes to steal from the rich and give to the poor, much like Jane's song. But it kind of seems like
no,
they're
in this-
stealing from poor villagers.
No, in this
I
episode, they're there to do a deal that has nothing to do with the villagers. Like they're just doing some kind of transaction.
Yeah,
They're
what-
not there to.
do we
like,
even
take
know what the deal
villagers' money.
was?
Well, Ricky, do you mean in the sense that they're like stealing alcohol and food and
Oh.
stuff?
Oh
Or...
no, I was
Oh.
thinking more the
The
overall
mystery
heist.
cartons that they make up. Like they have a big reveal of them, but we never
Mhm.
find out what's in them. Yeah, I assume
guess
it's
that's
from the
true.
magistrate.
Yeah.
But
Right. To me,
It's what
I
the
got
dudes
that it
from
was
Pulp
like
Fiction were looking for.
right. It's just a MacGuffin. It's not a plot point. Right. It's just a object that it's like their job is to move this object from this owner to this owner, and this is the stopover planet, and that's why the
And
guy
that's why
comes
they're
and finds them
here.
in the bar.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think they were there to get anything from the town. To your point, Ricky.
Okay.
I was immediately when Jane gets on board, right, and he's like, "Okay, let's sing the song." I was immediately reminded of Jonah Hill in Superbad when he shows up with all the alcohol and gives it to everyone. They're like, "Who's Seth?" But I don't know. Cheers to Seth. and then he goes, "Let's do another one to me." That's like
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
think about. It's like
I do.
he knows
to
that
bring
it's
up
his
something-
only moment.
Yeah.
To bring up something
Right.
you guys mentioned last episode, I think it was about Jane being a good drunk, a happy drunk. Again, here he is. Like, he is such a happy drunk. He is such a good guy when he's got a few drinks in him.
And the I love you drunk.
man. Yes.
Oh,
He
yes,
gets so
exactly.
emotional. They go, "Why did you come back?" And he's got tears, and he goes, "How could I ever leave?"
Right.
And
yeah.
he loves
Oh,
those
give me
people, and it's
everyone.
just some bar maiden that he just met, and some kid
And
that
some
thinks
kid.
he's like, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like he's having this hero moment,
Right.
and I think the only way he can accept that hero moment is to be absolutely plastered drunk, because he knows
For sure.
before
He-
that happens that he doesn't deserve everything he's getting. So he's
Right.
like,
Yeah, he tries to get the hell out of there
maybe
before he gets drunk.
right. So he's
Well,
like,
and
you know what? I deserve my moment. I deserve to be recognized, even if I didn't mean to do that, maybe it's okay for me to indulge. And then it shows like,
yeah.
well, if you overindulge, this is what happens.
I think that he was hiding in the first place because he felt so bad, like, about what had happened. And then I don't think that he knew that they had erected a statue, or
he
they really
absolutely
thought he
didn't.
was like great or anything. So he's sitting there
Right.
like, I don't want anybody to recognize
He
me
thought he
when
had
I was
enemies.
here. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did some bad stuff. So he was like completely caught off guard too.
And his
But
ridiculous
again,
getup.
when everybody's like, "Oh yay, Jane!" Like, nobody's ever probably, I mean, I don't
Mhm.
know, ever really treated him like that.
Oh,
Right.
no.
Well, because he's rude and mean. I mean,
And kind
He
of
is.
dumb.
But
and kinda dumb.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
But like,
Josh,
so
no.
I don't think
No,
I
he's
know,
not.
I know he's not
But to
dumb.
the-
I just
Still a
like
question.
yeah.
But to your point, I think this is the episode that defines it. Like
Yeah.
up to this point, I think it's a fair question. And then I think once you get this episode, it's like, okay, he's not dumb. He's ineloquent. He does not use pretty
But-
language. But he's
But
not
also
stupid.
very compassionate, and he's very giving, and he's
I think
like
he's very short-term thinking. Like, Jane is not
Kinda.
going to be playing some three-dimensional chess. He's not winning any three-dimensional
Right.
chess tournaments.
No.
He's not
Sure.
playing
He's-
two-dimensional chess.
He's really good at what he does. He's good to look at a situation and be like, this is how I'm going to get killed, and this is how I'm going to survive.
I'm
And-
still so confused about him though.
But I do
Like,
not think, like, I just have to come down on where I stand on Jane. Is that what I
Yeah.
love about Jane is I picked this episode because I love Jane. This Firefly is a show where it is near impossible to pick a favorite character. You think you know one, and as soon as you say it, you feel bad for all the other kids you didn't pick. But I do think that Jane is my favorite arc, or my favorite revealing of layers throughout the show. And so that's why I picked Jaynestown. I love it because this is really where it begins. And what works about Jane is because in the first few episodes, you're like, I love this character, but he is a straight asshole. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Props to Adam Baldwin, because it's hard to pull that off. And I think one of the reasons is because he is such an open book. He's 100% honest about who he is. And he is not a smart man. He's not maybe dumb, but he has what he's good at and everything he's not good at. And he knows where he stands, and he's going to be very upfront about you. He's going to say, Captain, when someone gives me enough money, you and I are going to have an interesting day. Like, that's what's great about him. He is not deceitful at all. I don't know if he knows how to be deceitful
Right.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Jane. And I should, maybe this is the point I should mention, my daughter's middle name is Jane, spelled this way for this
Oh.
character. So
That's
Aw.
beautiful.
that is how big of a Jane stan I am.
dang man, you're
That's
killing
very
me.
cool. That's two on the show, right? Because Ricky's
Yeah.
dog is Zoe, after Zoe.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Your daughter's middle name is Jade. That's very cool.
Hey,
I
our
dig
cat's
that
name
big
is
time.
Alan.
My BFF's name is Anara.
See, that's
Zoe
cool.
just entered the studio, by the way.
Hello,
Oh,
Zoe.
Oh,
You gotta
that's
get a
what, and
drop
then
in, Zoe.
just in that is I was thinking Jane's layers. Jane is like Space Shrek, right? He's like an onion. He's got layers. Rough on the outside, but you start peeling away, and he's a good guy.
Others have layers.
I'm still so confused about him though, because even in this episode, he was completely honest about how what he did to that guy was totally mean. And
Yeah.
you shouldn't think that I'm great because I accidentally gave you money and I pushed this guy out of the freaking ship. But
But
in the end, he felt really bad about it. Like, so I don't know, but he also still did push the guy out of the ship before the money. Like,
Yeah.
he
It's
still
funny because,
Well, and-
if the roles were reversed, Jane would be doing the exact same thing Stitch is doing, if not worse.
100%,
Right.
100%. And Stitch might be a better man because he
But
said
that's
he
the
wouldn't
thing.
have done that to Jane.
Oh
But
man,
that's
right?
the thing, is that's
Stitch.
all we have to go on is Stitch's
Yeah.
word, right?
Yeah.
And
If
and,
he was,
and
if
I'm
those
not
roles
saying
were
that,
reversed.
right, and I'm not saying like that he's lying. I'm just saying from the characters of the perspective of the characters that we know, we don't know anything about him other than what he said.
Well,
But
sure, but Jane
the
didn't even
thing about it,
pretend
I love
Kylie,
that he-
is that it took somebody dying for Jane to go, what is wrong with you people? Why are you worshiping me? Why did you build a statue? Like, why can't you see what's going on?
Yeah.
And the messed up part about that is that kid is the only one that actually understood why the whole revolution worked in the first place. He states it earlier in the bar. He says, when the mutters stick together, there's too many of us for the magistrate to do anything about. So once you had inspired us, we did this thing. And it's like the key there is that you don't need Jane for that. You have the numbers, you have the people, you have the strength. And they needed to idealize it, right? So if Jane were a good man, right, that's the point where he goes, okay, listen, kid, you don't need me. Listen to the first half of your sentence. Go out there and apply it. You're the person. You're the hero of Canton because you know that you guys can organize and be stronger than the magistrate. It's not me. It doesn't have anything to do with me.
Mhm.
And he could have even told the kid, like, look, I didn't mean to give you all that money. If I could have gotten away with it, I would. But we can keep that on the down low. I
Right.
mean, like if he were a good man, I think that would be the time to shut that down and clear everything up. But he didn't. He let it go and he wanted to indulge a little bit. And it took that kid getting shot for him to go, okay, look, you guys have some idea about me that is not true. And it's not his fault that that idea is incorrect, but it is his responsibility to correct them a little earlier, I think. That's
Agreed.
just my perspective.
Agreed.
A
But
good
also
man
he
was a
chose
bold
his
choice of words,
conscience
yeah.
too. I mean,
But I would like I would like to
He
think
did.
that the past 4 years Mal has rubbed off on Jane a little bit. That
Yeah.
Yes.
the man who pushed Stitch out of that car, that hover car, that ship,
totally.
is a little different now than he was.
People
What I also
grow.
love about Jane's arc, not to give anything away though, is that it's not a clean arc. As we see here, like we start to see the layers fall
Right.
away, but he is still not a good man.
He's very
Yeah,
up and down in character.
In my
throughout
notes,
the
what do I have
series.
here? It says, not even surprised, Jane is a dick.
Yeah, I keep rooting for him,
Um,
and maybe that's just the beauty of his character is
Yeah.
that he doesn't have a redemption. He's just purely himself, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So when the magistrate figures out what's going on and he gets all mad, right? He's
Mhm.
standing by his fireplace and the guy
Can
comes
we
in. So like
take a moment?
here's the picture.
Yes,
Go
Ricky.
ahead, Ricky.
What do you got, Ricky?
Can we talk about what a monster that magistrate is?
Magistrate, what's
can.
his name? Magistrate
Oh,
Higgins.
Higgins.
And
Magistrate
did anyone
Higgins.
did anyone catch the name of where they're at? Higgins Moon.
They're-
The magistrate has a moon named after him?
A whole
What
Hey,
a
moon.
pretentious. Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would do
Yeah.
Is he
that.
the one?
personally,
Is he
if
the one
I
that had the
owned him.
son
Yeah,
that
yeah.
hung out?
Yeah,
with
he
Nara?
hired
He's the one who
Inara
hired
for his
Inara.
kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And he
Yeah.
like
So
he
that's
wanted
one
to
of the-
watch his kid lose his virginity to Inara so that he'd become more of a man. How
Because he didn't
awful is
believe-
that?
Because he wouldn't believe it. Right?
Right.
Because if the kid just came out and was like, yeah, we totally had sex, he'd be like, yeah, I don't believe you. I'm
He did the
need to
nasty
see
and
it
the
happen."
pasty, and now I'm a man.
Yeah. I have on my notes here. He says, "My son's out there. I pray to God losing his cherry." ... Father of the year, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Right, So here's the thing, right? That guy is like, he's spending a lot of thought on this, right? Because the guy comes in. It
What a
feels like the
jerk,
guy is not
though.
normally. It feels like the overseer with the Slavic accent is not usually allowed in the house, right? Because he's covered in mud and stuff, and he just walks in and he's like, "Problem in the worker town, sir." And he's like, "Yeah, but my son's getting laid. I'm trying to get my son laid." And he's like, "Did you hear what I said?" Or like.
Nothing else matters
No.
right now except that cherry.
So he goes, he goes, "Oh, I know how to fix Jane." Alice in Chains. Anyone? Is that
Oh my god.
Wood?
The Man in the
Oh,
Box?
okay.
Wow, wow. Is it really just me? Okay, I thought it was.
Sorry.
Maybe it
I'm
wasn't as
sorry.
good of a joke as I thought it was. It's okay.
See, I was watching it as
happens to me a lot.
Borderlands, and as soon as it happened, I was like, "Oh my
Oh.
god, there's the guy in the box."
That makes sense.
I was
Can we
kind of
take-
right.
Well, it's a good thing that wasn't spoiled for you. So the thing is that when he lets him out, he's like the most cliche mad dog criminal let out of prison to do a criminal thing ever, right?
He looks pretty good for
But
being
he's-
in a box for 4 years. I assume they
Yeah.
like let him out to work or something.
Or like there's a hole in it that they can use to pass food.
Right. Well, I mean, just he
no,
has an
'cause he was-
atrophy. He must be out like working the mud. or
That's
something
true.
like
That's a
that.
good point. But he's real stringy, but he's not like they don't throw him the gun and it like hits him in the hands and he collapses.
Well, he's a tank later. He goes straight full Boromir on Jane when he gets a
Yeah.
knife in the chest. So yeah, I mean he's got some strength in him.
Yeah.
And he beats
And
the
it's-
crap out
it's-
of the doctor too with like
Oh,
ease.
Oh,
And he gets hit
they're
in the
feeding
face
him-
with a bottle, and he's like, "Oh,
That's right,
surprise!"
that's right.
I'm
They're
still
feeding
gonna
him-
kick your
they're
ass.
force feeding him mother's milk,
Oh
That's-
yeah,
that's gotta
okay,
be it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
right? Because it
Yeah.
keeps your strength up and it has all the stuff you need.
Yeah.
That's got to be.
But it
what
also
is.
keeps you freaking wasted. So the
Can
guy's
we-
just been
Just-
drunk
he's
and
just
full for
pissed
4
You
off.
got
years in a
anything
box.
better to do in that box?
That's right.
Hey, at least he's
Yeah.
getting drunk in the box, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment to just acknowledge how awesome a name Stitch Hessian is.
Yeah.
Hessian.
It
He's
was.
strong.
And he's
It's-
missing an eye to boot, so
right.
that's pretty cool.
Well, and like, it makes me. Okay, the wig is a little bad, right? Like his wig is a little bit bad. The beard was great. Like the beard, I think was very well done, but the wig just felt a little. And I'm gonna feel really bad if it turns out that that's that guy's actual
His
hair.
real hair.
And that's why they hired him. But it was a little eh. I love the confrontation between him and Simon. It's that next illustration of here's a class difference, like we were talking about
Mm.
earlier, right?
Oh my
Here's
god! From
like
like the
sir.
bottom.
Bottom. Yeah.
Did
Here's the
anybody
man in
write
the
down?
box.
Did anybody write down what Hessian called Simon?
Yes.
Panty waist,
Panty
Idjit,
waist.
panty
Idjit.
waist.
Yeah.
boy. Like
I wrote
he
down
called
Idjit
him
because I thought my
stuff like that.
stepdad was the only person who uses that word.
I had a friend in elementary school who would call his sister Idjit, and it got so deep under her skin, it would make her crazy. And I didn't even know what Idjit was. I thought it was idiot midget. I didn't know it was just a bad pronunciation of idiot.
Oh, wow.
Idiot.
And
Yeah.
pardon me for lack of political
No, you're good.
correctness.
We played Borderlands last night, and they still have that. You know, their
Yeah.
characters are named that.
So
same.
that's just what I thought in elementary school. That was my comprehension of it. But yeah, Idjit. That's my familiarity with the word.
Okay, well, mine's with my
And
stepdad.
Simon-
It's the only one time, yeah.
Stepmom, yeah, she's from Texas and kind of used that word when she'd get like real Southern, you know.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, when you when
Well,
the,
and so
when the
Simon
Southerners
has-
get real upset and they start saying things that it's like
When
it's
Southerners
like
get mad, they drop syllables off their
Yup.
words.
yep, and it's just really bad. You know, it's like when people
So
that are
Simon
from a different
attempts
country
to-
just start yelling in their own language. Just like,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great.
And that's one of the other things I love about this show is that when they really need to get that point across, like when Wash first tastes the mother's milk, he just gives like a full 6-7 words in Mandarin. Like, yeah, I don't remember what he says at all, and I'm not gonna attempt it, but he just like gives extra emphasis to it by not even speaking English, right?
The English translation
Um,
was, "What is this garbage?"
Really?
I
well, that's-
translated that random line today for some reason. Just
Well,
to
I
see if
assumed that it
worked.
was. I assumed it was dirtier than that, so I'm actually a little bit.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah,
surprised.
no.
But Simon
Also,
immediately attempts to
supernatural.
diffuse this, right? He goes, "Sir, I don't know what you're here trying to do, sir." And he's like, "What the hell did you just call me?" Like,
Yeah.
Nobody's called me
Why- like-
sir.
Oh, he was
and
pissed.
he immediately, he takes the offense. He's like, "Dude, don't even pretend like you respect me.
Mhm.
You don't know who I am. There's
And-
no reason for you to respect me. Don't act
And then he
like
pulls
that.
out the biggest switchblade ever made.
Is that a switchblade? I don't
Yeah, it
remember.
was a switchblade.
Oh, wow.
That was huge.
Yeah.
It was very long. Yeah. And
Simon is
he,
lucky he
It's
only
like
got out
my-
with a
it's like
scratch.
my knife I have in my
Well, and he
purse.
You
tells
do
him
not
too,
have
he's like-
anything like that.
he tells him you're going to lose an eye for this. And when somebody who's missing an eye tells you you're going to lose an eye, you believe that person.
Oh,
Right?
yeah,
It was an eye for an eye moment. I noticed that. I was like, wow, Stitch is
Yeah.
being poetic here.
You know, and I was kind of hoping
it-
that the doctor would lose an eye to take him down a notch.
There's nothing wrong with him besides growing up
No,
rich and
No,
privileged.
you're
like,
right. It would have made him look a little more badass.
You even sound like
I don't know.
Kaylee when you're defending
Dude.
Simon, Kylie.
Yeah, it's super impressive. Simon doesn't need to be badass. That's not his job. But
Yeah.
he
Yeah, one of my notes
I
actually
really-
describes him as a drunk asshole. So
Well,
I would say that he's always obtuse. Like he just, like we talked
Ah.
about, he just can't read a room.
totally.
He's just
Yeah.
really bad at reading a room.
Well, much like Jane, he is much better when he's drunk than when he's sober. I love he is getting so far with Kaylee when he's drunk, and the very next morning, as soon as he's sober,
This
just
is the
tanks it
stupidest
all.
Thing.
An
Yeah.
idiot.
tanks
yeah.
it all.
But
Yeah.
to your point, Cameron,
you
there
could
is
say.
definitely some poetry coming from Stitch, right? Because
Oh yeah.
he's thinking Simon represents the society that has cast Stitch to this box, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
that is 100% accurate, and that's a great point. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And everything that he says to him, even is, it's kind of just like the one criminal tier down from Mal, but he's got that same sort of, I used to be in charge. I can articulate when I need to. I don't when I don't feel like I need to. You definitely get a pretty good amount of character development for Stitch, considering, how much of the show that he's in and what's going on.
Yeah, when he's telling Jane, like, you watch your brother's back, you don't turn on him or anything. I kept waiting for Stitch to say, Ohana means family.
Right. And then do the thing. Like that would be, which would be
Come on,
super
Disney
effective because
fans.
he's missing an eye and has a giant beard.
Giant
It'd be
mouth.
actually scary. Yeah, they should do that.
Yeah,
So what did you guys think? Josh and Kylie in particular, did you guys see the do you think that the kid jumping in front of Jane, do you think that was telegraphed? Like, did you know it was going to happen like way before it happened, or the instant before it happened, or were you like, oh, that's kind of surprising?
I guess I didn't really see it coming, but when it did happen, well, no, I didn't see
she
it
was
coming at
surprised.
all.
Don't let her
Yeah.
fool you, because when it happened, she was
I
like,
corrected
"Oh,
I corrected myself. Okay. So yeah, no, I really didn't see that coming. I thought that everybody was going to turn on Jane after
I
she
actually thought that
admitted.
too.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that too.
So for that reason, that's why I was surprised. So
Yeah,
No,
I thought Jane might have gotten like he might have dove out of the way or something, or I don't know. I did not see someone jumping.
I
He
was
like
kind
does
of
a Neo move and he goes out of the way of the
Totally,
bullet, takes his
totally.
knife.
I
and-
mean, this is the time period of filmmaking when they did use that a lot. So, why not waste all the money on special effects in Firefly for
Well-
that one moment when Jane goes backwards?
I was
Does
kind of
anybody
disappointed
know-
that Jane didn't have a plan B there. Like, he would have been shot had it not been
Yeah,
for that.
he was like, well,
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
this is it. I am dying in
I
a
almost-
place of people that worship me. So, I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
maybe he
I
was
almost
pretty
think
accepting
that's
of
kind
it.
of the
Maybe,
point, though.
yeah.
That's exactly. I think that's kind of, there's a chance that was meant to be, like, in his head, that was meant to be the end of his arc, right?
He's like, I could die happy
The only
right
way
now.
for me to redeem myself, right? The only way to redeem myself is to be truthful in front of everyone and accept whatever happens because of that. And I'll admit, like, when Mal starts sneaking up sideways on Stitch, I was like, yeah, get him, because I haven't seen this episode for probably 10 years. I was like, yeah, Mal's gonna save the day, and then he just puts that shotgun right on Mal's chest, and I was like, oh, I forgot how, like,
Oh, yeah.
there are
That was
stakes
on
in
his
this
bad eye,
episode, and that
too.
stresses
Yeah.
me out. Yeah, it was just like,
Yeah,
okay,
that
so
doesn't make
Stitch
sense.
knows what he's doing.
Oh, he's that good.
Well,
Stitch is
Stitch
that
knows what
good.
he's doing. He's paying a lot of attention.
That dude
He's
has
got-
been
he's
drunk in a
got,
box for 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
he's that good.
He's got high psychotic Twitch level accuracy on all.
Yeah, you're right.
Then they probably jacked him up on like steroids or something. We just didn't see that scene because they take out all the scenes
Oh,
that
true, yeah.
explain, why people did things. If you can't figure
Yeah.
it out. So
Yeah, they just
I just-
straight shoot mother's milk into his veins.
yeah.
There's another great
And-
little Jane
Go ahead.
moment here at the end too. I like just before that though, where he saves Simon's life, like because Stitch says like his plan is to kill Jane's friend in front of him, and you see Jane kind of. There's a moment where gears are turning, and he's like, "I could let that happen."
Yeah.
Nah, he kind of like cocks his head almost like a gun. He's like, "Nah," and then he's not with me, and then he intentionally like berates Stitch to get Stitch away from Simon. And it was just a great little moment of Jane's humanity just peeking out through the cracks.
And to your point, Cameron, that seems pretty
Sorry, Kylie had to use the
specifically
restroom.
like. No, you're good. That seems like a pretty specifically Mal thing. Like that's a
Yeah.
tactic that he would have seen Mal use before. Go
Mm-hmm.
keep them talking, keep their eyes on you while whatever it needs to go on goes on over here. That feels like something that rubbed off on him.
Oh,
from
this
Mal.
whole series we have seen that
because
Jane,
it
yeah,
just-
he's mimicking Mal a lot. Yeah, you guys have touched.
I
on
think
a
he's
lot,
a little
right?
more
Because it's one-
self-centered than Mal, though, and that was very, very
Right.
expressed in this episode. It was shown very well in this episode, in the fact that Jane stood in front of his own freaking statue to have the speech, and like stood in the kind of same pose as the statue as he's giving his speech.
To be fair, he was
But you
ordered
could
there
tell he
by
was
the captain. Yeah,
He was,
Yes.
and he was,
and he was
but I
uncomfortable.
wanted to point out that this was a really good arc for Jane. In my notes, I said this was a nice old-fashioned duel turned into a severe morality check,
mm-hmm.
and it was like Jane to me kind of. You're good, go on back. But Jane to me kind of figured out what he's like his mistakes. He really contemplated life and what was going on. To me, I guess, especially at the end of the episode when he's talking to Mal about stuff, and Mal says every man that had a statue made out of him was one sort of a son of a bitch or another. Those people just need something to believe, and I mean it definitely helps Jane in the moment, but I think right then and there he's realizing like, oh man, maybe I should think about some things
So,
before I do
to-
that.
I feel like a really bad host, but to bring up the other half of this episode, that's
It's
the
all
parallel,
about believing.
right?
It's all about believing.
So River and Book and River are on the ship, and she's like, "Hey, all this stuff is wrong," and he goes, "River, it's not something that needs to be correct. It's not about the specificity of it. It's about the ideas behind it. It's about just believing in something enough to let that belief affect your life. It's not about I believe all these things to be 100% correct." And you get those
Well,
parallels there where
River
she's
kept
like, well, maybe I
saying that-
can reconcile that with what I know to be true. And that's what Jane is trying to do the whole episode. He's like, here's what I think is true, and there's definitely also what I know to be true. And reconciling those two things is going to be really difficult because they think that I'm this hero, and I know that I'm not. And it could cost blood to get those two things to line up. Whereas on the ship, we have Book and River trying to get those two things lined up in a little more enjoyable, whimsical, fun way with crazy hair and chasing her around the ship and she's hiding in corners and stuff. And it's not quite the life or death stakes, right? But it is.
Well, but there was that
thematically,
very
it's
serious
all about-
moment with Shepard and her when she's tearing apart his Bible. And she's like, "This is broken. It doesn't make
Right.
sense. I gotta fix it. There's
And I
11 of these different things here." And that was the first moment of Shepard
Yeah.
being like, "The Bible doesn't have to make sense. It's all about faith and what people have and believing in something." And he said, "Faith fixes you." And I wonder if he was actually foreshadowing that faith fixing Jane in a way, not necessarily having faith in something to fix you to become better, but so many people having faith in you to become or to be that better person that they believe you are. I think that in
Right.
a
There are
opposite
definite- yeah, there's
direction,
definite-
Faith fixed Jane in this. I mean, I haven't seen the next episode. I have no idea what happens next. Maybe he just murders the whole crew in the next episode. But to me,
Wait,
this
I thought
kind
you
of
said you
the
haven't
end of
watched
this
it.
episode.
Yes.
But to me, it just seems like this episode had two different meanings of the whole faith thing. Of, faith can fix people with them believing in something and wanting to be better, and faith can also fix people by them believing in you to be a better person. And the way that Jane did it was a little
Right.
deceptive, of
So I
course,
think-
but those people having that faith made him
So-
a little bit better.
Right. So if we say that the theme of the episode is faith, right, then you have several different illustrations of it, because you've got the book that Book has, and he's like, this is my faith, and it's about, having something to believe in. And then you have River going, I know all of this science, and I know that it's true, so I need to make this stuff fit, right? So that she's got faith in facts, and she wants to reconcile that stuff. Then you have all these people that have faith in Jane. And Jane doesn't really seem to have faith in basically anyone except for himself, right? And then when his own faith in himself lines up with all these other people, he's immediately uncomfortable, which I think is an indicator that he is a little deeper. Like Cameron was saying, there are layers to Jane, because he's going, it's okay for me to walk around thinking that I'm the greatest thing in the world, but if everyone else is doing that, there's a problem, because I'm not, right?
Space
So
ogre.
it's and in that scene, like that first scene, I felt like Shepherd Book was a little bit less understanding than I would have hoped with River. Like you can see the frustration on his face, and he's like, you don't fix this, River, you don't change this, that's not what it's for. And he was a little upset, and it's like, dude, she's not doing this
It's
for, she's
probably
not
going to
doing
be
it for a
difficult
reason that's
to replace that space Bible.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but
I don't know. You just go to a
if
space
anybody
hotel.
knows
They
that
probably have one in the
possessions-
drawer. It's fine.
well, and if anybody knows what's important, then it's
It's holding up the microphone.
he is in space, so that
Well,
fits
I-
perfectly.
I love that you get to see a lot of characters out of their element in this episode, and you can maybe say that's the premise of the entire show, is getting these great quirky characters and
Right.
throwing them in awkward situations. But I love seeing, especially Book and Inara, who are usually these very rigid, strict, morally. They come off as very wise, right? They're never cut off guard very often. Here, it's one of the few times you get to see
Right.
Book get kind of angry and frustrated and not know what to do in a situation. And Inara only has a little one later where she thinks Hess is talking about Mal. She's like, Jane
Yeah.
Cobb? You're talking about Jane Cobb?
No.
Last
Same
episode.
person.
Yeah. I want to say,
She
like,
totally thought it was Mal the whole time,
Yeah.
and then she's like, "Wait, what?"
yeah.
Jane Cobb.
Last episode is my favorite Inara episode, just because she is so, like, she rarely gets to be the comedic relief, and, like, she is so great in our Mrs. Reynolds. But I want to go back to what you guys were talking about and tweak it maybe just a little bit and push it through the whole episode. Because I don't know if it's about faith so much. I think it's about symbols. And I mean, maybe that's just technicality or
No, I agree 100%.
semantics. But yeah, the Bible is a symbol, and maybe the stories in it don't really make sense to River, but it's not about that. It's about believing in something. The hero of Canton is a symbol, but Jane is the reality. And so I was watching the other subplots and being like, well, how does Inaris fit in? And then she says the word symbol. Your virginity is a symbol to your father, but it doesn't define you. You are not the symbol that he sees.
Mhm.
And if you really want to really push it through, you could say that Simon's politeness and decorum is a symbol for his feelings for Kaylee. And so I was
He
just
said that. He blatantly had said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, the writer Ben Edlund, who is the creator of The Tick, basically was definitely
good call.
very cool.
Good call.
pushing that theme throughout the entire episode. And I love the Jane plot. I have some issues with the subplots, but I do absolutely love that he did kind of try to tie them all together in that way.
And at one point, after River had torn all of those pages out of Shepherd Book's
Yeah.
Bible,
And that's
she ended up returning to him and going, I tore all this paper out of your symbol, but now it's just paper.
Damn
And
it, Ricky,
doesn't
that
make
was my
sense
quote.
anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I didn't get it quite right.
Very well done.
Yeah,
Ricky.
that quote is so good because
No,
that
that's-
is Jane. Like, I have your symbol, but it turned into Jane. The statue just turned into Jane Cobb.
Mhm.
What else was I going to say about that? I'm sorry, just real quick. I don't know. It'll come back to me.
Fired. You're fired.
I know.
But you're right, Ricky. She specifically calls it a symbol because he explains to her it's a symbolic thing and you have it for this reason. And then you immediately get that River respects that. Like, she may not agree with it or fully, get what he's saying, but she 100% respects it.
She at least respects
she
him.
wants to be
I
helpful.
still
she
think that
showed to care.
she had mentioned previously, I don't know if it was the last episode or the one before that she understands what's happening, but then she gets confused sometimes. So I think that we're still seeing her being cognitive and then being confused again. So, but this time though, I think she was cognitive when she's ripping the pages out. That was her clarity right there.
Freaked out.
And then when she was like, they just turned to paper. That was her being confused, I think, again.
Yeah.
Well, I think
like
Shepard Einstein kind of freaked her out too, and threw her off the edge.
So I love the scene in the bar. Simon wakes up and they all leave him there. They tell him to eat his eggs or whatever. First, he asks for a menu, and I just love ADR lines. Like, that they thought of that, "Oh, what's line later in post and threw it in there. I love that. And speaking of menu items, a little game we like to play on Green Shirt sometimes we'll have a little quiz for everyone that we can kind of tie in with the episode somewhat. And Jesse allowed me to bring one on for you guys. Woo-hoo. Now, it's never stated that Jane Cobb is not named after a Cobb salad, so I'm going to assume that he is.
Okay.
And so this is a little game called Celebrity Salad. I am going to mash up a celebrity name with a salad. Well, that's the answer you're going to look for. I'm going to give you a question about that, and you have to answer with a punny mashup of a celebrity and a salad. Okay. So if I were to say, for example, this bowl of chopped greens, chicken, avocado, egg, and blue cheese is the hero of Canton, you would say...
Jane Cobb.
Jane Cobb salad.
Yeah,
Jane Cobb salad,
okay.
yes. That's going to get a little trickier than that, but that's the basic.
All right.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So you guys can either work together or just shout out, whatever.
Is this all Firefly themed or just random?
No. It's celebrity. It's random celebrity.
All right, cool.
Okay, this Australian dish of finely shredded cabbage and mayonnaise won praise for looking just like Gretchen Carlson and Virginia Woolf, and is also known for being much taller than her ex-husband, Tom Cruise. Shredded cabbage and mayonnaise.
I got coleslaw.
I'm trying to think.
Who was married to Tom Cruise?
Nicole Kidslaw?
Nicole Slaw?
Nicole
Yes.
Slaw. Kidman. Nicole Slaw Kidman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Nicole Slaw.
Team effort.
Kidman
Team effort.
Salad.
It's going to be... In case you can't
where
tell,
we're
the
going,
Green
guys.
Shirt podcast
great.
is much smarter than our podcast. Go ahead.
Well, it
Like-
should
I
be.
don't know
It's a
if
Star
Star
Trek podcast. It's intellectual.
Thank you. 100% agree.
Both Woody
ahead,
Allen and Wes Anderson love this retro salad of fruit, shredded carrots, and gelatin, which has jiggled its way to an Oscar in Prizzy's honor and is perhaps best known for her portrayal of Morticia Addams.
What was her name?
What are the ingredients?
Fruit, shredded carrots, and gelatin, and jiggled its way. You always have room for this one. For Morticia Addams.
I don't know. That's
No one knows her name.
Angelo Mold? Wait.
Oh, so close.
I'm
so
close.
Angelica Houston, yes.
Okay.
Angelo Cup.
Angelo.
I was like,
Angelo,
Angelo, and I couldn't get the second. Cameron, you are so good at this.
I'm sorry.
Good
no,
Lord,
no,
man.
I
You
outsourced
gotta
this.
dumb this down a little bit for
These
us
are
Star
good.
Wars
These are
fans
good.
over here.
All right. This crustacean, covered in eggs and mayonnaise, got in boiling water after he revealed himself to numerous comedians. exposed himself, I should say.
Yes, I got this. I got it. I have the guy. And what are the ingredients again? Mayonnaise and eggs.
Crustacean covered in mayonnaise and eggs.
Louis C.
It's a little, I don't know. Do you know the salad?
It's not.
Oh,
it's-
Niqua?
Crab Louis CK. Crab
Oh.
Louis.
Crab Louis.
Crab Louis.
Also, we
See,
don't eat a lot of salads over here. We're more of like a steak and eggs.
Niqua
kinda
would be
house.
salmon, so that's why I was
I have-
like, oh,
I have prepared salads professionally, so I'm just gonna say this is a straight up failure on my part.
It grosses me out how many salads have mayonnaise involved as an ingredient. The next couple.
Salad is like means mayonnaise, right? Like chicken salad, tuna salad, like it just means
yeah,
in
egg
America,
salad,
potatoes
with-
salad,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's
This is
Okay, we're halfway through, guys.
All right.
You'll
Okay,
get
give
this.
us-
You're getting better. It's just it's a warm up. It's a warm up, guys.
definitely go.
All right.
You're doing
got it.
so good. Okay.
I got Google ready over here.
Okay. This boiled tuber drenched in mayonnaise and herbs really stepped up to the stripper pole and showed the world his magic mic.
Oh, jeepers.
Oh,
Who is it?
It's Channing potato salad.
Channing
Channing
Potato
Tatum.
Salad.
But
Potato
Channing
salad.
Tatum.
Ricky
Okay.
puts it
Gosh,
together.
I was
Right
thinking
there.
Channing Tomato or something.
See, you guys are doing better
Potato.
already. You're gonna get these last two, I promise.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Oh, I like this one. This dish of apples, celery, and walnuts swimming in mayonnaise started out as a wrapper before becoming a big, bright, shining star in movies like Boogie Nights and The Big Hit. And a little indie film called Transformers.
Mark Waldorf.
yeah.
Waldorf.
That's it.
Salad.
You got it, Jesse. Waldorf salad.
I'm
Okay,
getting
last
a little bit of
one.
Google
It
over
sounds
here,
like we
by
got
the way.
Seth Rogen on the podcast. Did you guys hear that? Jesse just laughed exactly like Seth Rogen.
That was.
Nice.
Okay, last
I'm-
one.
This is why I changed the audio version, Ricky.
For the win. This quartered head of lettuce covered in blue cheese dressing and bacon crumbles has shredded on lead guitar for Irish rock band U2.
It's gonna be a wedge salad of some sort.
You could use Google. It's okay.
Oh, we are. Don't worry.
That'd be
McCormick
Oh,
salad.
the wedge.
the edge.
The wedge.
The wedge.
The wedge.
Lead guitar keyboards.
Good job.
All right.
Kylie.
Very
Y'all,
well.
y'all
can tell
got a
who
piece of
the-
one. Good
You can
job.
tell who the winner is in this relationship over here.
Oh, dude. So we've been playing Jeopardy on like the Switch.
absolutely.
Nobody
Yeah.
likes to play Jeopardy with me. No one.
Oh.
I'll play with you. I will play with you.
Oh, dude, Jesse,
I-
it is on one day.
You know,
day.
I'm
Ricky
super
actually
down.
just gave me some crap last night for having Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune on my Switch. Just want to let you know that, Kylie.
He's just jealous.
And he did point out that it was
Fight,
for you.
fight.
So Josh was all over it.
Oh, yeah, we
Cameron-
played together.
Yes.
Cameron, thank you. That took
That was wonderful, dude.
that
I
had
wish I
more
had a- I wish I had a
intelligence
thing made up.
in your one segment than like 90%
It
of
was
our episodes.
all
That was
puns.
unbelievable.
I liked the
loved it.
last
Oh,
one.
man, that was
the
great.
last
That was
one was
great.
the best.
I knew
loved
I
it.
had to end with that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have any more episode notes. If you guys have
Wow.
anything else from the episode you'd like to cover, now would be the time.
I'm
Oh, I
pulling up my
just-
notes again. I had to use Google to look up the wedge salad. So.
I did it all from memory, Josh. That's
Oh!
cheating. I don't.
I got it. I know what I wanted to bring up.
All
Inara saved the day with sex.
Oh, yes.
By the way.
She did.
Yep.
She did. She taught some good lessons. Mhm.
Yep. Yep.
She made that man a
Mhm.
man and not with her vagina.
I
wanna
love
say-
that Inara
Oh,
is that
maybe
could-
kinda. But
Well, yeah. I mean, Inara and I guess companions in general, they are basically life coaches
mhm.
with boinking. Like that's what they
Yeah.
do
Boinking.
apparently.
I
And I
like
love
that
that we
you
get
use
to
the
see
word
that in this
boinking
episode.
because no one ever
Well,
uses the word boink,
if
and I think
they're-
that's a fantastic
Is a
word.
good one.
I think so. It's a very
But if
PG
they're,
term for it.
stressed or whatever, they would offer a massage or like how, she was talking about in one episode, washing feet is something that she
Yes.
does, like
Mm.
different
Nice.
things like that. So it's totally not just about sex at all. That's just like probably
Well-
like a tenth of what she does.
Knowing
What are
who,
you laughing about?
knowing who
Jesse?
like wrote this show and
It's
directed
like
this
the
show,
South Park joke. Remember? Sorry, Josh. What I'm laughing about is there's the South Park joke where when Ike, I think it was, hooks up with his teacher, right?
Nice.
All the policemen are like, nice.
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 So Cameron mentioned her feet being washed, and Ricky just went nice without missing a beat, and it was like,
All right.
it
Well,
just hit me. I'm sorry to
Ricky's
interrupt.
looking
Go
for a
ahead.
foot washer.
So I do want to say one of the first lines that Kaylee had in this episode was "Have good sex," and then
Yeah.
later on in the episode, it's proven that she had good sex because Homeboy released the lock on the ship.
She must.
She had
have
such
some
good sex.
Yeah.
So
And his heart. So
yeah, and that cherry was
I
way
couldn't
popped.
help it. I couldn't
She
help it.
taught, she
Yeah,
taught
no.
him all the lessons, and she was like patient with
Dude,
him. Like
okay.
I don't know, man.
I'm sure
be
it was
fair.
a real quick endeavor. So
To be fair, without getting too specific or graphic, right? I know exactly what that kid is going through. Because I'll tell you what, the first time I ran into my dad afterward, and he tried to ask me to do something, I was like, I don't feel like it, so no. Did that work out for me? No.
A man.
But-
now.
But I know exactly how that kid felt. It's like,
it's like
tell me
the
what to
instant
do.
defiance that you have. The next
Yeah.
thing that your parents suggest,
Uh-huh.
you're like, nah, fuck that.
Nope.
I'm
I'm a grown up now. Don't need it. Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. I know where he's coming from. So, and I feel for the kid. He reminded me a lot of Martin Starr.
Yeah,
Who was
I can
on
see that.
I love
League
Martin
and-
Starr.
Oh yeah.
Freaks
Yeah.
and geeks. Freaks and
Freaks and
geeks.
geeks.
Freaks and geeks.
I
He's
love that
like-
show.
Ricky's all getting all close to the to the mic.
Freaks and Geeks.
Don't worry,
Marty
Ricky, I
Speaking
Brown.
love
of
that
DVDs
show.
that have like 3 commentaries for each and every episode.
I've
If
got
you want
the
a show with
DVDs.
commentaries. Yep. So I would say that Inaro saved the day both with sex and coincidence. It just
Oh, yeah.
kind of reminded me of the Pixar rule of like coincidences to get your characters in trouble are great, but to get them out of trouble are cheating.
Right.
And it just kind of felt a little bit like, once again, Inara's
Yeah.
client is really lining up with the crimes they're committing, and he just
Sure.
happens to have this issue with his dad. And he just happens to
Right.
be his dad just happens to download the
And
entire
they-
plan to his son in that like 5 minutes. And
And they
Yeah, it just felt all a
immediately
little-
explain that kid is a sympathizer. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, did you hear about Jane? I hope they don't catch him. It's like,
Well,
oh,
that's what he
gee, I
says.
wonder how this is going to end.
this happened to me.
Yeah.
This happened to me while I was growing up. Dude, you were 22 when that happened. Okay, so maybe your dad has a point. Okay, if you're like, I was growing up when Jane was here. I did
Well,
the math.
you know-
Fess.
His dad, may have gone about it the wrong way, but his dad got what he wanted, right? He wanted his kid
He
to
is
be
a
more
man.
assertive. He wanted his kid to grow up a little bit, and he did
He
it.
paid
So-
good money for it, and he got
Just-
it.
And that's what he said too. He was like, "This is what you wanted, wasn't it?"
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You did say that.
There was one more thing I wanted to mention. That
Please.
and the ending the combat between Hessian and Jane was extremely violent.
Oh, he goes straight Fight Club on Stitch.
Yeah. First, that kid gets shot right in the chest with a shotgun. Jane
Yep.
throws a knife into his chest, a big knife, and then Jane grabs him and just starts slamming his head into the corner of a rock.
Yeah, that was intense.
That was
Did he
quite
kill him?
violent.
Do we think Stitch is dead? I think Stitch
Yeah.
is dead.
I don't know.
Well-
I mean, we have seen that he is a tank. He could come back.
Well, the
Well,
kid
and
pulled
that-
the
He lived
knife
in a
out of him
box
without a
for
stir.
that's
So
right.
That was
Did
my
any-
question, though. Is he had bashed his face like head on the rock like so few times that I was like, either he's not dead, he's just knocked out, or it was with such freaking force.
Oh, there was some force.
that
I
he
feel like
killed
the
him in
sound
those,
effects
like,
kind of-
four,
Yeah.
like yeah.
the sound effect, you can always tell like the difference between a knockout sound effect and a death sound effect. And I feel like this one, especially in the early 2000s, was a definite death sound
There's-
The
effect.
death sound effects.
There's a
were
little bit of-
squishier.
That like
Yes, a
Yeah,
little bit of
squishier.
moisture in the
And
sound effect.
Hessian is pretty hardcore, but he's not a Sith Lord.
I didn't even make the Star Wars reference this time. That's amazing.
Did anyone else think that little kid, the one who identified Jane and then pulled the knife out, did anyone else think he looked like a baby Spielberg? I don't know.
yeah.
He looked like a really young Steven Spielberg to me. I
I
was like, I
noticed
know
his-
this kid from something, but
His eyes were
And
pretty
he-
close together, is what I noticed. but-
Well, and he looked like he was somehow actually like all that kid's scenes were shot in 1993. I don't know how, but it looked like they were all from 1993, and that kid was from, you know, he was 5 in 1993. It was
Mhm.
really
They
weird.
hired him off the
specifically.
Hercules set.
Yeah,
The Hercules set.
there you go.
uh,
So unless you guys have any other notes for this episode,
I'm sorry. I think I have just two more. I kind of like the fact that Jane's hands are literally covered in blood when he walks back on the ship.
Mhm.
The director obviously had him hold his hands out so you could see that.
Yeah.
I love that
Definitely
Kaylee's
metaphorical.
I wrote Kylie.
Kaylee.
Kaylee's crush on Simon is the worst kept secret on the ship. I love that everyone knows what's going on here, even the captain,
Yep.
and he's like helping her.
from the
He's being her wingman.
What did
Oh,
she
yeah.
say? Oh,
Yeah.
she says things are going well, Captain. And he's like, okay, well, cool, we're gonna do this. And she's like, no, things are going
Yeah.
well, Captain.
Wank.
Wink, wink.
I think.
Been too long.
Guys, we got to mention the final musical sting to this episode. That we get the refrain from the hero of Canton, all morose and sad like at the very
Oh
end.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
was good.
it's
That was
it's
good.
very a Perfect Circles cover of Imagine. It was very just
Mhm.
like,
Oh, yeah,
oh,
yeah.
this is hurtful and
That's a good
dour,
pull.
but I like
Yeah.
it. Like,
For sure.
but yeah, I definitely feel you there. So if you ever
I am so
watched
sorry.
or
I have
listened
two.
to-
I have two more. Oh,
no, I'm getting to it.
Okay.
100%, I'm getting to it. I was gonna say if you have watched us before, you know that this is going a little bit long. Normally we cut off right around 90 minutes, but there's no rule about that. So if you guys are here for the long haul, let's keep powering through because I'm ready to go. Cameron,
I'm going to make these quick. I'm going to make them so quick. I love that this is the third time and the third character who has pranked Simon in like a similar way when Kaylee says, so when we made love last night,
Oh my!
I don't know
Yeah.
why I made her Southern, but it's the exact same thing both Jane and Mal have done to him. So I love that like he is just the ship's...
You really are such an easy mark.
Yes. And then I just wrote, Jane is not the hero they deserve, but the one they need. And to that regard, there's kind of that great moment where he's like, they're probably putting that statue back up. And Mal's like,
Right.
they probably are. And so do you think the Mudders have a Jane's addiction?
Oh, dig it! So
Thank
many
you, Ricky.
good
Thank you,
music
Ricky.
puns this
Okay.
time. So
And
many
I'm
good
done.
music
Isn't
puns.
Jane's addiction?
Thank you
spelled
guys
that
for
same
joining the
way,
Sun
too?
But Inevitable podcast. We gotta end there.
Don't get better than that. So
No, that was.
I'm done.
Thank
I'm
you.
done.
Thank you. I love
thank
it.
you.
Love it. That's
So-
the name of
Thank
this
you for
episode,
humoring
Jane's
me.
Addiction, for sure.
Oh no, I mean that's like I said, that's what we're
I
here
liked
to
Space
do.
Shrek from our viewer earlier. I don't remember who said
I
that. Space
actually-
Shrek was great,
I'm
but,
sorry, you guys. As captain, I'm just gonna make a mandate here. The answer to your question is life coaches with boinking. So
Much better.
like, don't worry
Much
about it.
better.
It's covered. So if you've watched the show before, you know that we have a couple of weekly segments that we like to do here at the end. I think that I have the order correct, which means that this week for our first segment, I think it's Ricky. I think it's Ricky going first this week for Simon Says. Wait
Alright.
for the cue, Josh. I think it's Ricky this week.
My bad. My bad.
You're good. So, Ricky, what we do in this segment is we talk about what our favorite quotes of the episode were, even if they weren't spoken by Dr. Simon Tam. However, I have a feeling that this week, a lot of the best candidates did come from Simon. So,
Yes, they
Ricky,
did.
let's have you go first, and then we'll jump to Cameron, and then we'll do Josh and Kylie, and I will go last.
All right, I've got quite a few quotes. I'll just drop one now. Maybe I'll circle back and throw out another one afterwards. But I'm pretty sure we've all got it written down. To Jane, the box dropping man ape gone wrong
Jane.
thing.
So Jane!
The box dropping man ape gone wrong thing. I love it. Cheers.
That was a good one.
Cameron, you're up next.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna
No,
I'm
you're
gonna
good.
stick with River's line of I tore these out of your symbol and they turned into paper, because it is such like a funny River, like taking everything so literal line, but it's also the heart of the entire episode. And I remembered what I was going to say earlier is that I love that like this episode is about Jane, but it's in this subplot, like the very first scene between her and Book, where they actually just spell out the theme about symbols and things not having to make sense and people believing in something. So I just thought that was a very well-crafted line.
And to have that line come from a character that sometimes speak nonsense is like, it add that layer of poignancy to it. I think that's a really good point. Yeah. So Josh and Kylie, what are your selections for Simon Says this week?
So my original one was already said in the episode. It was when Inara was talking about, the virginity doesn't make you a man kind of thing. But another one that we have written down here that I did like was when River's hiding and Zoe and Book are trying to coax her out, and she's like, it's everything's all right, like, and she says something like that hair will still be there waiting. And I thought that was kind of funny. Like, I mean, the hair was wild, but the fact that it just like freaked her out so much.
Shepherd Einstein. I mean,
but then he also said that was a symbol too of something in his religion. I don't know.
Yeah, he did get a finish.
But anywho,
I also like that Zoe was just going, preacher, put it away.
Yeah.
I don't care what it means to you. It's scary. It's weird. Put it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine, man, I really liked who is this diabolical mastermind in disguise, as they were talking about the doctor, because it was a complete, like, this guy's a freaking idiot. He has no idea how to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Wash. I was like, where did Simon go? That was
yeah.
He's doing so great.
Yes. Yeah, that would have been mine.
Awesome. I wrote down a lot of lines.
Or the entire Jane song would have been my quote.
Right, yeah.
I should just read all that. Ready?
Really
You guys ready?
No, don't do it. Don't do it. The one that stuck out to me when they're looking at the statue, right? And Jane's like, come on, can we please just leave? I don't want to be here. I don't know what's going on. Let's just leave. Mal says, no, this here's a spectacle. Might warrant a moment of consideration. It's like, you're dragging out every moment of this, even when you're describing the moment itself. Like, I love how much they're all reveling in this weird, strange, uncomfortable thing that Jane is going through. It just that line I really loved. And then when that little baby Steven Spielberg is staring at him, he goes, "Shake your head, boy, your eyes are stuck." And the kid freaks out and runs away real quick.
But then apparently goes and grabs the town. Like,
guys, it's Jane.
Yeah.
Is he a dick? Yeah, he's totally a dick. He's down in the bar.
Does he look like the statue? No, not at all. But I know
he
it's
was like super rude. But let's go.
That kid either has a ton of authority or like a lot of, or like his dad does, right? Like, how did he rouse the whole town in 8 minutes?
He's got a bell out there. Bing, bing, bing. Jane.
It's the Jane bell.
They have a Jane alarm. Yeah.
Oh man.
And they rehearse it every first Wednesday of the month. They rehearse the Jane alarm to make sure everyone's at the same spot at the same time.
Did you guys have, in any order you want now, did you guys have any other lines that you wanted to share before we move to our next segment? Go ahead, Ricky.
I've got one more. It's the closing dialogue of the episode. Jane saying, not a one of them mutters understands what happened down there. They're probably sticking that statue back up right now. Mal responds, it's not about you, Jane. It's about what they need. And Jane goes, don't make no sense. And I thought that was really an excellent pin on the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for his understanding of faith in general, right? Like, it's like, no, like, I believe in what I can see and do, and I have faith in me. Still, despite this formative experience, like, he's learned some lessons, but it doesn't, you don't really get the picture that Jane is like now suddenly super considerate or like metaphysical or something, right? Like, he's just like, oh, that was a different way to consider things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Do
have
you guys have
anything
any
else
other
than
quotes?
that, though. I think we
I don't
covered
think
all
so.
of
Cameron,
them.
did you have any? All right.
Okay. Let me just run it back really quick because Kylie and I found this really funny. That when they drove the ATV
Oh my God.
into the town, and I forgot to bring this back up. I'm sorry,
No,
guys.
this
I'm
is
just
a
reading
good
through the
one.
notes, but when they're driving the ATV through the town and they stop with Jane and they're like, "Oh no, you go do your thing. We're gonna go do
And they
this
pick
job."
up Mal and Zoe, right? They hop on the back.
Mhm.
Yeah, they drive off for like 3 seconds to their destination.
Right. It's like fucking 30 feet that they go, and they're like, "Oh, we're here. Let's drive." Why couldn't you just walk?
Just get off the ATV and walk
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
10 feet
I did-
to the destination.
I noticed that. Initially I was like, oh, this is Mal like illustrating a power dynamic to Jane, right? Like we ride 30 feet. You walk to the town. And then the other thing I thought was it probably was actually just poor editing. Like they
That's what I was thinking. It's
absolutely.
like totally a mistake on accident.
put more shots between those two shots or like a different
Yeah.
angle.
Yeah,
Because it was
I-
just
I
them
figured
driving
something
off
was
and then them
cut.
driving
Yeah,
up to the building.
And then they
or
just
whatever.
arrived. We're here.
Yeah. I definitely know what you're talking about because I had that moment too where I was like, that was a little short of a jaunt.
That was the ADHD
But the other
in
thing-
us coming out there. Sorry.
Yeah. The other thing about this episode, I mean, it's a ton of fun. Everybody loves Jaynestown. Everybody loves the song, right? But this episode, like, you have to squint when you watch it because it's just so shiny.
How shiny,
shiny
How
is
is
it?
shiny is it?
Ricky asks, how
I apologize.
is it?
Jesse's a little behind on the stream.
We're a professional podcast. No big deal. This
I think that was
episode
great. I think it was
is
perfect,
so
guys.
shiny. I wanted to give it a really, really high score, but I think I have to. Like I was thinking like I can't give it a 10, I can't give it a 9.5, this, that, and the other thing. And then I was thinking about why would I not give those scores? And I landed still pretty high. I landed at a 9. I'm gonna give this episode 9 out of 10 because that's kind of what I feel about it. Now, here's the thing. We do an out of 10 scale, right? But we don't have like, what is it? It's 9 out of 10 what? It's 9 out of 10 shinies, 9 out of 10 stars. But Cameron, on the Green Shirt podcast, you guys come up with a new scale every week. We're going to rate this episode out of 10, just for example, warp core breaches or, transporter accidents, that kind of thing.
Something
So
specific from the
if
episode.
you could, I would love for you, something that we could, what do you think is something we could rate this episode out of this week?
Sure. I mean, there's a few options. I think we need to rate this 1 out of 10, or 1 through 10. How many Mutter's Milks would you drink to watch this episode again? How many glasses of Mutter's Milk do you rate this?
Ah.
I can dig
Dang,
that.
well, one's
So
gonna
I would
get
be
you.
dead on the floor
Sure. I mean,
because
if you really like
I
this
ranked it a 9.
episode. Yes.
Yeah, so 9 out of 10 Mutter's Milk mugs for me puts me dead on the floor with alcohol poisoning. But I had so much fun with this episode that I think that definitely has to be my ranking. So, Cameron, as our guest, how many Mutter's Milks would you drink?
I've been going back and forth on this, guys. It's tough because like a week episode of Firefly is a pretty good episode of almost any other show, right? And obviously this is one of my favorite episodes because it is all about Jane, and I love the Jane plotline so much. But I don't love the Inara subplot just because I do think it relies a little too much on coincidence at the end, and I don't love the River Book subplot because it doesn't really go anywhere. Like I think there could have been something great with those two characters debating religion, and then it feels like there's a deleted scene maybe that they cut out for time. So I'm going to go with 7.5 on this one. There are perfect episodes of Firefly, and if I can pick out even a couple problems, then I'm going to have to drop it down. 7.5 Mutter's Milks. I'm going to pass out halfway through that 8th glass.
I'm digging it. Josh and Kylie, let's have you go next.
I'm gonna go ahead and say a good 8 Mutter's Milks. I like to rate just like strictly on emotion, I guess, because that's how I run my life. And it's basically I just thinking back on the emotions that I felt through this episode, I laughed, I cried. But no, it was funny. It was, I liked the element of Anara, even though there was the convenient plot points and stuff like that. It was still kind of cool because at first I was very, very wary watching the show about, oh, well, I thought Anara was going to be this super cool character and she's just a whore. But no, that's clearly not the case. She's not just a whore. She's very intelligent and she clearly
whore
helps young men. Right. Yeah, young men along their way though. But it's the sex part is 10% of her job. She's doing all these
Right,
other
very
things
small.
like
Yeah.
and I think Josh and I were talking about, I don't think that we talked about it on the podcast. It was a private thing, but wouldn't you imagine that there's a lot of men out there that would need her to hold them and mother them and all these different kinds of not fetishes but needs that people have that she can give. It's not just about sex. So it was kind of
And it's
cool to see
definitely
another
hinted.
episode. Sure. So it was cool to see another episode of her, just another, just kind of seeing more about what she's about and stuff. So
I 100% agree.
She
I do
definitely-
love that part of her plot that you get to see more of what her job entails. That was fun.
the convenience though, I always call that out, oh, convenience, So I get it. But again, I would say it was good at 8. I thought I laughed a lot. Thought it was poignant and intelligent, and I'm gonna go with that.
I am gonna give this an 8.5. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know. I had a really good time in this episode. And I can't remember who told me to not. I don't know.
It was
rate
Rosie.
this
It was Shepherd Rosie.
Rosie.
She was just saying,
Yes,
"Don't
yes.
worry, don't feel any pressure to rate it correctly.
Yeah.
She just wants you to enjoy it."
And I did enjoy this episode thoroughly, and I think a lot of it had to do with playing Borderlands. I was very excited to see why it was based on this show, and I was really excited to see the similarities between the game and the show as well, because obviously that whole 5-6 part mission was based on this episode.
That's so fun when that happens.
Yeah,
when
and
two
so-
different things that you're excited about come together.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a twofer. Going and playing Borderlands with Ricky last night was a lot of fun. Just talking some smack, and just having a good time playing some games, and I don't know, just seeing the similarities. And I laughed a lot. And I don't know, man. It was 8.5.
You get
So I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Hell yeah,
That's all I
Ricky
got.
D from
All
Best
right,
Flicks
well-
with Ricky D. What do you got?
Cameron said this is one of his favorite episodes. I'm going to go ahead and say this is my favorite episode. So go ahead and back off a little bit.
Beam
I'm
back to
gonna
your
give
enterprise,
this-
buddy.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10 Mutter's Milks. It's got everything I like. It's got chest wounds. It's got people coming out of, what were they? A heat box? Is that what they called that? It's got Jane's song. I love original songs like that. This is an excellent episode. I'm going 9 out of 10. Favorite
Excellent.
episode.
So, given all of those scores averaged together, that means the Sudden But Inevitable Rewatch podcast rates Jaynestown episode 7 of Firefly at an 8.4. That is how shiny this episode is. So,
Perfect.
normally here, we would start closing everything down, and we are going to do that. We're going to start closing everything down. But I am going to get really quick to the Sudden But Inevitable shout out, and then we're going to give Cameron a moment to tell us all where we can go take care of, our Star Trek itches, because trust me, he's got the medicine for what you see. So, first up this week for the Sudden But Inevitable shout out, we have at Parsec Retro on Twitter. This is Grammy-nominated composer David Joseph Wesley, whose name you might recognize from the Firefly credits. This is his synthwave project, and it's very retro, and it's got all the neon on the page, very, very cool. From that interview where we had talked to Evan, I actually am really big on synthwave lately. It's just kind of, there's something about it that hits me right in the nerd heart, and I love it. So definitely go check out at Parsec Retro on Twitter. Grammy nominated level of talent making synthwave. I don't know how you go wrong there. The next one is at Unstyled B. This is actually another podcaster. She is one of the hosts of a podcast called Next on Stage One, which is stories of the adult entertainment industry. A local Denver podcast, actually, which is very cool. They I don't actually. There was some sort of a pod lift, Denver local podcaster reach out thing on Twitter, and I couldn't help myself because we've been getting so much love from the community that it's like, okay, it's time for us to start giving some of that love back now that we did break 100 followers, by the way. Thank you. We were talking about that last week. We broke 100 followers on Twitter. So now I feel like we have a little bit of weight we can swing to the other podcasters, and we can help people that have been helping us, and it feels really good. So definitely check out Next on Stage One. You can follow them at UnstyledB on Twitter. And the last one is at Fandom Thing Pod. Now, this is another podcast, obviously, and the fandom thing, it's a fandom thing is the name of the show, and you can join them each week to discuss all things fandom and pop culture from the female perspective. They have new episodes every Wednesdays and Fridays, and you can check out some pretty cool trivia contests that they run on Twitter. I will leave it at that. That's not true. I'm going to tell you, I won one of their trivia Twitter contests, so that was really cool. And so shout out to at Fandom Thing Pod. And you can find all of these links in the show notes as always. So that's going to be it for the sudden but inevitable shout out this week. Of course, I am going to start just by saying, Cameron Harrison of the Green Shirt, thank you so much for coming and joining us. This is just like, this has been so much fun for me. Even before you got here, I've been having a ton of fun talking about Firefly with these people. And then when I heard your podcast,
what do you mean
I was
these
like,
people?
these people that I have known and loved for a long time. That's why we're having fun. When I heard your podcast, I was like, if he will come, I cannot wait to have him on our show. I think you fit really great with our dynamic. You guys have a very similar energy. You can tell that you all really know each other and love each other and are actual friends. Like, you're doing this show because you're passionate, not because you're like, we got to get in some of that Star Trek podcast money. You're doing it because you care about Star Trek, So it's just, I really want to thank you one more time before anything. And bye, Callie. Have an excellent day at work. Thank you for watching. Sorry that we're going
Thank
along.
you so
Hi,
much.
Callie.
I just want to say before you jump in, and let us know where we can find Green Shirt, where can we find you, all that stuff. I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of us, because we have had a blast and you have been an amazing guest. So thank you.
Well, thank you. You've been an amazing podcast host. This has been super fun. I am now addicted to guesting on other people's podcasts. I'm going to have to go out there and just tell everyone to invite me on. No, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. It made my day when you offered that. And we are looking forward to having you on Green Shirt here in a few weeks, I think. So, you'll be recording in a few weeks and we're a few behind. So probably a month or two, your episode will drop. But yes, if you want to find out more, you can follow us on Twitter at GreenShirt87. Facebook is facebook.com/GreenShirtPodcast. I don't do our Instagram, and do you know my Instagram, Jesse? I don't do the Instagram for our show. I think it's Green Shirt Podcast.
I think it's at Green Shirt Podcast. Yeah,
I believe it is
at Green Shirt Podcast.
I was not prepared for this. Thank you.
No, you're good. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Yeah, so you can find us all those places. That would be great. Can I shout out one other thing? Another thing I've been working on is a feature-length puppet horror film that I helped produce and my buddy Jesse Blanchard make. It's something really special. It showed at a few festivals and has gotten a lot of buzz. You can check out some reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It's looking for distribution. If you want to see the trailer, go to puppetcore.com. It'll blow your mind. It's cool. And then just try to get word out so someone will pick it up and distribute it.
Could you say the name of that show?
It really
movie
is.
One more time?
Yeah, I am absolutely. I'll say it for one time because that would be the smart thing to do. It is Frank and Zed. It's about a Frankenstein monster and a zombie who have a symbiotic relationship and must fight their way through an orgy of blood. So check that out.
And it's puppets.
That sounds amazing.
And it's all puppets. It's the first all puppet feature-length film since Meet the Feebles, I believe.
I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I don't know about you guys, but that's like the coolest thing ever. We just have a guy who makes puppet horror on our podcast to talk about Firefly, and we're going to have Star Trek crossover. There's
We will.
This has been
Yeah, man.
so much fun, you guys.
I would like to, if you ever want a guest that's a Star Wars fan that's also watched a lot of Next Generation, hit me up, man. I'm down.
Josh, I will hit you. I've been wanting to wait for the live podcast to say that, Jesse and I have been talking a lot about Star Trek. He is excited to share his Star Trek love with me. And though I love all franchises, gun to head, Sophie's Choice, Josh, I'm more of a Star Wars guy.
My man.
Cut him from the
And
stream.
with that,
Make
I
Kylie's
do want to
picture
give
bigger.
you.
Jesse, what's going on, Jesse?
I do want to give you one of the Ferengi rules of acquisition on your way out here. Rule number 192: never cheat a Klingon unless you're sure you can get away with it.
Smart.
It's 100.
Who's
And
the
here's the
Klingon
thing,
and who's
though.
the Ferengi in this metaphor?
Right.
Probably
I was going to
he's the
say
Klingon, you're the
100%. We'll work on it all. So, you guys, as always, I just want to say thank you again. The love that we get on social media all week is just, it fills my heart to a capacity I didn't know that it had. So thank you guys. Thank you, Shepherd Susie, Rosie, Glitter Rock, all the Shepherds. You guys are always in the show notes. Everybody from the Sudden But Inevitable shout out. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Ricky D from Best Flicks, for keeping me honest and letting people know that I tell very small fibs in an attempt to keep Josh's experience fresh. Thank you, Josh and Kylie, for taking time out of your day to go find a green shirt so that we could help, welcome our guest Cameron here. And I'm so grateful that I get to share this show with you guys for your first time, because, as we learned from this episode, you only get one first time and then it changes you forever. So I'm really glad that I get to watch you guys lose your. Let's stop this sentence right here. Cameron, thank you so much.
Our Firefly cherry popped.
This is. I've really enjoyed having you here, Cameron, and I can't tell you how much fun I've had. Josh, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and hit that music. If you would like, you can follow us on Twitter at SuddenBut. You can hit us up on Instagram at SuddenButInevitable Podcast. You can follow us at Facebook.com/TwistMyArmPodcast to join us every Friday. And if you want to get everything all in one place, go to TwistMyArmPodcast.com/SBI. So, once again, I have been Jesse. This has been our guest.
This is Ricky.
I'm Josh.
I'm Kylie.
Cameron?
Josh, take us out of the world.
Bye, guys.